Naruto. Obito is exposed and the ninja world is shocked. Chapter 76. Stop the water, something happened. Tell Naruto-sama that Uchiha has been reincarnated in filth and is attacking the village. Obito said to stop the water, and then waved his right hand and disappeared in place. Uchiha's expression changed, and he quickly cast an instantaneous technique to enter the Taki hidden conference hall. Obito shuttles through the forest to the land of fire, and his mind is full of thoughts. This attack came too suddenly, obviously premeditated, and launched an attack while the 3 generations of Hokage went to the 5 cage talks and Konoha's dragons were leaderless. Who the hell is psychic from Uchiha? The medicine master has not yet grown, then it must be Big Snake Pill. Quote. In the last life, the Great Snake Pill had reborn 4 generations of Wind Shadows to deal with Scorpion and Deidara. At that time, the Big Snake Pill was not yet proficient in the rebirth of Filthy Soil, and the Filthy Soil body of the 4th generation of Wind Shadows would rather fight on its own than be controlled by him. And he can get Madara's corpse, obviously with the support of Heiju. The reward of the image has increased his magic power, otherwise even if the dirt comes out of Uchiha, his combat power will be less than 1/10 of his life. If it was the state of the medicine master in the previous life, then Madara's current moment is enough to destroy the entire Konoha. Konoha Hidden Village. Fire. Toad Oil Bomb. Toad. Bunta and Jiraiya cooperated and took the lead in attacking Uchiha. Jiraiya opened his mouth and spit out a violent and brilliant fireball, and Wentai followed closely with the yellow oil on the fireball, and the two were mixed together, and the fire-cooking oil quickly expanded into a huge oil flame bomb that emitted a hot temperature. In a roar and dazzling light, it flew towards the 9 tails. Insect tricks. Uchiha showed disdain, manipulated the 9 tails to open the blood basin and mouth, and a small red-tailed beast jade greeted the oil flame bomb, which seemed to be no more than half the size of the oil flame bomb and the large-tailed beast jade, but it was like a broken bamboo, completely resisting the huge flame. Toad Wen skillfully jumped to the side and dodged the small-tailed beast jade that was still in power. In the next second, a deep pit was created in the same place, and the surrounding area was scorched black, like a huge black hole. Abominable, not at all in an order of magnitude. Zelie also glanced solemnly at the deep pit. The tolerance rate of this battle is too low. As long as you make a wrong step, you will face defeat. Uchiha didn't give him time to think about it, and manipulated the 9 tails to kill him. Wearing a blue armor, the 9 tails held a blue lightsaber in each hand, and the whole body emitted a dazzling light. Between the waves, the huge lightsaber in his hand slashed towards Toad Wentai like a violent storm. Toad Bunta wielded the short dagger in his hand and struggled to resist the attack of the 9 tails. The air is full of fire, and the sonorous sound is endless. The attack of the 9 tails did not stop for a moment, and Toad Wen was too gradually exposed, so he could only jam the gap between attacks and take the opportunity to jump back. After landing, his right hand holding the short knife was trembling slightly, and if it weren't for Fugaku's powerful Susanoo package, the short knife in his hand would have been shattered by inches. Just a face, and it fell into the downwind. Jiraiya-sama, it's not a way to go on like this. The 9 tails are already extremely powerful, and with Susanoo, it's not something we can resist. It's better if I use Susanoo to drag him, and you fly directly above the head of the 9 tails to deal with Uchiha Madara. Fugaku suggested. I can only give it a try. Zelie also felt the trembling of Toad Wentai under him, and reluctantly agreed. Uchiha Fugaku jumped up from Toad Bunta, and the Susanoo armor that wrapped around Toad Bunta quickly disappeared, and then a huge Susa figure looming in the sky appeared. Uchiha glanced at Susanoo, who was rich in his eyes, and said, "What a strange transparent chakra. What is this kid's kaleidoscope ability?" Uchiha Fugaku manipulated Susanoo to kill him, and the transparent light knife slashed at the top of the head of the 9 tails. Uchiha's eyes lit up red, and he could see the huge Susa silhouette in the air, and then the 9-tailed horizontal knife blocked Fugaku's attack. Chicken ribs. Chicken. Uchiha shook his head in disappointment and commented on Fugaku's Susanoo. Under his blood chakra eye perception, he clearly sensed the existence of the other party Susanoo. Immortal Law. Super large jade spiral pill. Zelie also took the opportunity to jump into the air, and a super-large jade spiral pill dozens of times larger than an ordinary spiral pill condensed in the palm of his hand, and flew straight towards the Uchiha spot on top of the head of the Nine Tails. Uchiha looked at Jiraiya, who was already close, and snorted coldly. The light of the rice grain also shine brightly. Quote. His hands were still across his chest, motionless. The next moment, the Nine Tails turned their heads and opened their blood basin mouths, and a small chakra cannonball flew towards the great jade spiral pill in the air. The two collided violently in the air, and the azure ball of light and the red chakra energy ball collided together, sending out an earth-shattering explosion, illuminating the entire night as bright as day. Even Fugaku on the side was affected, and Susanoo was bombarded by the blast and stumbled 2 steps to the side. Jiraiya's figure appeared above Fugaku's head, gasping for air. "Jiraiya-sama, are you all right?" Fugaku asked solemnly. "It's okay. I almost explained." Fang Kai's explosion almost engulfed Zilai, but fortunately, the immortal mode gave him enough acuity, and in an instant, Zilai also continuously used teleportation techniques to dodge. It's just that in this way, physical strength and chakra have consumed a lot. On the other hand, Uchiha still looks relaxed and calm. "Ants, less than half a point from me." Uchiha was very disappointed with the two in front of him. "What is your kaleidoscope ability?" Uchiha suddenly asked towards Fugaku. "Foresee the future." Fugaku looked stunned, he didn't expect Uchiha to ask such a question. "Oh. Kind of interesting. Tell me, what is my future?" Uchiha was curious and interested. "It's hard to believe, but your future will be respected by the entire ninja world." Fugaku hesitated. Although he was also very surprised, in the future picture, Uchiha Madara was indeed recognized and respected by the entire ninja world. "I think it's my ninja kingdom that makes the entire ninja world grateful to me. For the sake of fellow Uchiha, give you a chance to surrender and bring your clansmen to me." Uchiha was in a good mood and gave Fugaku a chance with compassion. Unexpectedly, Fugaku shook his head and said, "I am destined to die here for the village and for Uchiha. Gee, if you see death as your home, then I will fulfill you." Hearing this, Madara's eyes first appreciated, and then became angry, and shouted, "Mu Duan. The tree realm has arrived." Quote. A green forest rises from the ground, and the thick trees wind towards Susanoo, who Fugaku manipulates. Susanoo manipulated by Uchiha Fugaku slashes trees. Fire. Fire dragon bomb. Quote. The furious fire dragon danced its body and burned the surrounding trees to ashes. However, the trees grew extremely fast and endlessly, and one wave was repulsed, and another wave immediately followed. Soon breaking through the two's blockade, Susanoo of Fugaku was firmly entangled in thick trees. At this time, Uchiha took control of the Nine Tails and killed Uchiha Fugaku. Because he was entangled in thick branches, Fugaku didn't have time to dodge at all, and could only passively withstand Madara's attack. Between the swings of the two lightsabers, a crack quickly appeared on Fugaku's Susanoo, and blood and tears flowed from his eyes. Then a chakra shell smashed straight at Susa's head. Boom. After the explosion, Susanoo shattered inches. It was too late and too fast. From the time Uchiha's words fell, to Fugaku's defeat, it was only a few breaths. Uchiha's gaze shifted to the clearing on the side, where there were two embarrassed figures. Jiraiya also supported Uchiha Fugaku, who was unable to get up, half kneeling on the ground, and the immortal mode had been lifted. "Jiraiya-sama, I can't do it." Uchiha Fugaku coughed up a mouthful of blood and said weakly. Although Fang Kai Zilai also pulled him out of the explosion in time, the right half of his body was still affected by the explosion. At this moment, Fuyu's right half of his body was scorched black, and all the internal organs inside were necrotic. "Fugaku, you've done your best." Unexpectedly, Uchiha Ban even Mu Dun mastered it. Jiraiya sighed. Madara's strength made him sigh, although there was still spare strength in his body to fight again at the moment, but he had no effective means to break the opponent's Susanoo. Moreover, as far as he knew, the body of the filthy earth was an immortal body, unless it was sealed by sealing, or the magician was found and killed. At the moment, neither is achievable. The defeat is decided. All your efforts are just in vain. There was no emotion in Madara's tone. In his eyes, the huge gap in strength is like a chasm, and no amount of tricks can be filled. He manipulated the Nine Tails to walk towards Jiraiya step by step. The only thing that can stop me is between the pillars. Madara looked down at Jiraiya and Fugaku, as if looking at two tiny ants. Holding a lightsaber, the Nine Tails swung an arc and slashed down with force. I can only fight hard in the end, hoping to delay the village for a while. Jiraiya glanced back at Konoha, which was filled with gunsmoke, and his eyes showed determination. In the face of the attack of the Nine Tails, he quickly sealed the seal and shouted. Tuden. Wangsenuma. A huge swamp appeared under the Nine Tails, and as soon as his right foot went soft, his figure instantly lost his balance and fell into the swamp. Zilai also took this opportunity to take Fuyu and instantly turned to the side. Psychic. The art of roof collapse. Toad. Hiroshi descended from the sky and stepped on the body of the Nine Tails, causing it to sink deep into the swamp, and then appeared in front of Jiraiya. Zilai also then channeled Toad Jien out. Holding a huge fork-shaped weapon in his right hand and a huge bowl-shaped giant shield in his left hand, the dark purple Toad turned his head and asked. Jiraiya, what needs to call our three brothers? Toad Jien, Toad Hiroshi. Please buy some more time for Konoha. Jiraiya solemnly asked. What a powerful force. Is it a tailed beast? Why are you still wearing battle armor? Quote. Toad Mirror and Toad Hiroshi saw the Nine Tails mired in the far distance, leaving a trace of cold sweat on their foreheads. That's Susanoo of the Uchiha clan. I also briefly introduced it. Stop talking nonsense, take advantage of the other party's quagmire and beat the falling water dog. Toad Wentai in the distance took a puff of smoke, and after slowing down, he greeted the two brothers in the distance, and then leapt up and killed the Nine Tails who fell into the Yellow Spring Marsh. Three animals also want to stop me. Uchiha looked at the three Toad brothers who had attacked one after another, raised his eyebrows, and chuckled, then play with you. Quote. Mu Duan. The world of flowers and trees has arrived. Quote. In an instant, the surface of the earth cracked, countless vines broke through the ground, and crossed to form a green and dense forest, on which bloomed countless bright and beautiful flowers. A thick yellow mist erupted from the flowers, and the air was filled with a fishy sweet smell. As soon as the three brothers of Toad Wentai entered the scope of the yellow mist, they felt sore and drowsy. Immediately afterwards, thick vines swept towards them, trying to bind them all. What the hell is this? The three Toad brothers fought hard to repel the swept vines, but the many vines in the body became more and more sour and weak, and gradually became weak. Immortal Law. 5 Right Guard Gates. Quote. Zilai also spewed out oil mist, the Shima Immortal on the shoulder, the Deep Immortal respectively spit fire in the mouth, the Wind Escape Immortal art, the three elements intertwined in the air, bursting out with amazing momentum, forming a monstrous flame towards the Nine Tails. And Uchiha spot. It turned out that Lai also seized the opportunity of the three brothers and Uchiha to maneuver, invited two old Toad Immortals, and turned on the Immortal mode again. This combination ninjutsu is his most powerful immortal art. Some of the vines in the flower and tree realm formed a fine net, trying to block the incoming flame wave, but it did not help, but increased the fire. Uchiha gathered all the armor covering the Nine Tails' body in front of him, forming a blue Susa giant shield. The flame wave roared in the air, and with a powerful destructive force, it slammed into Susanoo. Under the impact of the flames, Susa's giant shield revealed countless cracks, and the flames splashed everywhere, like gorgeous flowers blooming. Under the fireworks, Susanoo was like 1,000-year-old ice that gradually melted, and the entire battlefield was illuminated by the firelight like daylight. Zilai Yi and the two Toad elders stood in the middle of the sea of fire, their expressions solemn, and the flame wave blocked their view at the same time, observing the result at the moment. The next moment, a scene that stunned them happened. I saw Uchiha standing on top of the Nine Tails, unscathed, with long black hair automatically following the wind, and the whole person was like a god of death in the night. Why, you're surprised. Uchiha stood in the center of the sea of fire, wrapped in a layer of Susanoo. The Nine Tails under him were scorched black and seemed to be injured. The burning pain rejuvenated it, and he roared. Abominable Madara, you are a complete devil. Fankai, the giant shield formed by Susanoo was like thick ice melting, and Uchiha saw that the part that was blocking him melted, and simply removed all the Susanoo in front of the Nine Tails and transferred it to himself. As a result, the Nine-Tails endured the rest of the flame wave and suffered a lot of injuries. Although this injury was for the tailed beast, 2 days of cultivation can recover as before, but the Nine-Tails felt that his dignity was trampled. The abominable Mata never used him as a mount, an animal. HMPH. Useless things should be discarded. Uchiha ignored the negative emotions of the Nine-Tails. Xiao Zilai, the situation is not good, escape. The face of the deep immortal on Jiraiya's shoulder was ugly. Can't escape. I escape. Konoha will be destroyed by Uchiha Spot, sorry to immortals. Zilai also smiled bitterly, and then pressed one hand on the ground. Psychic art. Untie. He sent the 3-toed brothers back to Myomu Mountain first. In the next battle, there is no need to add unnecessary casualties. Gave up. Uchiha jumped off the body of the Nine-Tails and slowly walked in front of Jiraiya. Immortal Law. 1,000 needles. Jiraiya suddenly drank, and his white hair increased in hardness, turning into dense fine needles, which quickly hit Uchiha like a rainstorm. This is the fastest of all his techniques. The 2-toed immortals can activate his hair roots, so that the hair needle Senben can achieve continuous shooting. It is a surprisingly difficult one, and the attack power is not low. It's just a child's trick. The blood chakra eyes in Uchiha's eyes gave him powerful insight that had already penetrated Jiraiya's intentions. Susanoo's huge light blade in his hand slashed down, shattering all the hair needles into powder, and then came straight towards Jiraiya. Blood flashed, blood splattered. The dense drizzle suddenly disappeared, and Jiraiya's body fell backwards weakly. A huge slash spread from his right shoulder to his left waist, deep in bone, covered in blood. Fukasaku and Shima Sento shouted, "Little Jiraiya." Quote. Psychic. Untie. Taking advantage of the fact that there was still a trace of consciousness, Zilai put his hands together on his chest and sent the 2-toed immortals back to Myomu Mountain. Then, the consciousness gradually went into a trance, the confused eyes gradually closed, and the sight became darker and darker. There was a faint sound of Tsunade's shouting in his ears. "Is it Ozuna?" he muttered in a low voice. Tsunade flashed between Uchiha and Jiraiya. The huge explosion woke her from her drunkenness, and she rushed over as soon as Shizune told her everything that had happened so far. Blood. Tsunade's apricot eyes widened, his pupils contracted suddenly, and he looked at Jiraiya, who was covered in blood, his expression terrified to the extreme. It seems like something terrible in retrospect. Huh. How do you have a necklace between columns? Is it the descendants of the columns? A turquoise jade pendant in front of Tsunade's chest has attracted Uchiha's attention. Why do you look like you've never seen blood? Looking at Tsunade's deaf ears in a look of horror, Uchiha frowned and said, "Senju's descendants don't fear blood, right? That's enough rubbish." Tsunade stayed in place, subconsciously wanting to flee the scene, but the remnants of sanity stopped her instincts. The slugs squirmed on Jiraiya's wounds, emitting a brilliant green light, slowly repairing Jiraiya's wounds, but it could only barely maintain Jiraiya's life. In that case, you should also die. Susanoo raised his blade and stabbed it at Tsunade. The next moment, the light blade stabbed into Tsunade's white jade back and penetrated from his lower abdomen. Too scared to hide. It's really sad that the Thousand Hands clan came out of such a waste as you. Uchiha drew his light blade and said with a disdainful smile. If you let the Thousand Hands Buddha know that his descendants are this virtue, maybe the coffin board will be suppressed. Tsunade's lower abdomen was penetrated, and he knelt down on one knee in front of Zai. Zilai's face was haggard, her lips were bloodless, and a dying look came into her eyes, deepening the fear in her heart. Uchiha lost interest, jumped up, jumped back on the head of the Nine-Tails, and said, "You two go and die together." The Nine-Tails struggled to get up from the ground, and under the control of Uchiha, a tailed beast jade was slowly condensing. It's time for a minute. A yellow flash appeared in front of Tsunade and Jiraiya, and it was a wave of wind and water gate. 2 Duan. Dirt flow wall. Uchiha looked at the water gate and wanted to block the tailed beast jade with the earth flow wall, and couldn't help but scornfully, Mantis arms as cars. But the next moment, the huge tailed beast jade did not explode on the wall of the earth flow, but slowly, melted, into it. Then, above the sea in the distance of Konoha, there was a violent explosion. Huh. Flying Thunder God technique. Uchiha looked at the magic mark that appeared on the wall of the earth stream and praised, not bad, very thoughtful. Quote. Tsunade-sama, cheer up quickly, it's better that Jiraiya-sama is going to die. Wave Feng Shui Men stood on his chest and shouted at the soulless Tsunade. Boy, worry about yourself. A tailed beast jade flew straight over again. The Wave Feng Shui gate concocted it and transferred it to the sea. Then his chest heaved slightly, and he transferred two tailed beast jades in a row, which was extremely consuming for him. Then, as if trying to test his limits, a tailed beast jade flew over again. No, it goes on like this endlessly. As soon as Chakra sees the bottom, all three of them will die. The water gate turned back, put his hands on each person's shoulder, and his figure flashed, and disappeared in place. HMPH. Rat. Uchiha looked at the figure of Watergate fleeing and smiled disdainfully. Then, he controlled the nine tails to move slowly towards Konoha. As far as his eyes could see, he improvised a tailed beast jade, watching the huge ball of light explode above Konoha, and a smile appeared on Uchiha's face. Between the pillars, how many years have I been waiting? Finally made me wait. Remembering his dark days in the mountain cemetery, Uchiha controlled the nine tails to increase the frequency of firing tailed beast jade. The nine tails couldn't help but gasp. The tailed beast jade consumed a lot of chakra. Even if it was him, he couldn't help but consume like this. On this side, Bofeng Shuiman is home. Wave Feng Mizuman appeared at his door with Jiraiya and Tsunade, and instantly saw Shina and Kakashi collapsed on the ground. Ju Shinai. Although the moment he saw the nine tails, Bofeng Shuiman had a premonition, but at this moment, when he saw his beloved wife falling to the ground, he didn't know whether he was alive or dead, and his heart also clenched. In the previous life, when Obito used the seal of Ju Shinai to loosen, he channeled the nine tails, while Madara forcibly broke the seal, and the loss of the two to Ju Shinai's body is not the same. Tsunade-sama, please save Kushina. Seeing Tsunade half kneeling on the ground, Hakafeng Shuiman anxiously pleaded. Tsunade mechanically turned around, walked to Ju Shinai, stretched out his hand to probe his nose, touched his cold pulse again, shook his head, and said, it's too late, it's too late. Quote. The Wave Feng Shui gate is like being struck by lightning, his pupils are full of despair, and the double blow of losing his wife and children makes him fall into the abyss. He held Ju Shinai's corpse in his arms, and all kinds of warm fragments of Ju Shinai flashed in his mind. Suddenly, a huge roar woke him up, and a dazzling light came from a distance, caused by the explosion of the tailed beast jade in the village. Tsunade-sama, please teacher. Bofeng Shuiman grinned, expressionlessly gently put down Ju Shinai's corpse, resolutely stood up, and returned to the battlefield. Now is not the time to grieve, there are more people in the village waiting for him to save. The tall back met Tsunade's sight in the moonlight, touching her sensitive nerves. She turned her head to look at Jiraiya and reached out to save her, but Jiraiya's face always overlapped with Kato in her mind. Tsunade fell to the ground weakly, tears slowly flowing down. She can't do it. When the Wave Feng Shui gate appeared on the battlefield, Uchiha Madara was sitting cross-legged on the head of the nine tails, controlling him to condense the tailed beast jade. What about people? What about Uchiha Obito? What about the other families in Konoha? Where have all the people gone? Konoha's combat power was so weak that Madara could not have imagined. Konoha has just experienced 3 battles, and it is the time when Qing Huang does not answer. The Wave Feng Shui facade appeared in front of the nine tails with a dead will. He swept through the already devastated leaves of Konoha, and the secret passage could no longer fight in the village. Psychic. The art of roof collapse. Quote. A large dark red toad fell from the sky and landed on the head of the nine tails. It was indeed Toad Buntai who had just returned to Myoki Mountain. This trick again. Fang Kai, that white hair is your teacher. Uchiha instantly turned to Toad Buntai's head and asked with a frown. Watergate didn't answer his question, because the tailed beast jade in the mouth of the nine tails was about to be condensed. He instantly turned to Toad Buntai and teleported it to the Valley of the End along with Uchiha and the nine tails. It's far from Konoha, and the battle won't reach the village. Watergate, how is Jirai? Toad Buntai jumped up and took Watergate and Uchiha away from the head of the nine tails. The teacher's life is in danger, I don't know if I can survive it. Watergate replied simply, and then rushed towards Uchiha. Do you want to dance too? Uchiha looked at the water gate that rushed forward, and his eyes lit up with interest again. The two of you come to me and start a competition of physical skills. When Obito rushed to Konoha, he couldn't help but sigh as he saw Konoha reduced to ruins. The one who should come or the one who should come. He flew Thor to Kakashi's side, and at a glance he saw Tsunade guarding the dying Jiraiya. Next to Kakashi, who was unconscious to the end, was Jushinai, who had lost his breath. You can only use a dead horse as a living horse doctor. Obito took out the resurrection charm in the Shinwei space without hesitation, and then tentatively pasted it on Jushinai's forehead. The next moment, a crystal green light appeared on the resurrection charm, and then merged into Jushinai's body. I'm not dead. Jushinai got up blankly, looked at his body, and said in disbelief. Obito watched the spell work, and said gratifyingly, Jushinai, you have a good rest, I'm going to help the teacher. He sensed strong chakra fluctuations in the location of the End Valley. It must be Madara. Suddenly, Tsunade grabbed the hem of Obito's clothes, and Chu-Chu glanced at Jiraiya pitifully. There is only one resurrection charm. Obito spread his hands, his face full of helplessness. He knew that Tsunade had a fear of blood from the trauma of war, and he glanced at Jiraiya again and persuaded. The sea people are dead, but the living are like sea. Jiraiya's life and death are all above Tsunade. End Valley. Two huge statues stand on both sides of the canyon, and a crystal-clear stream flows from the bottom of the canyon below. The huge statues are carved with the original Hokage Senjukuma and Uchiha Madara respectively. At this moment, above the End Valley, Wave Feng Shui men and Uchiha are fiercely entangled together. Boy, good physical skills. Uchiha is enjoying the moment of wrestling with the Wave Feng Shui gate body technique. His whole body turned into weapons, and every attack went straight to the point of the water gate, without the slightest element of bells and whistles. These are the killing skills he accumulated from the Warring States period, and he has formed muscle memory. He punched out, accompanied by the whistling sound of the wind towards Watergate's chin. Watergate hastily raised his arm to block, and the next moment, he immediately received an elbow strike from Uchiha. Watergate secretly cried in his heart. What he was best at was the Flying Thunder God, but in the face of the other party's powerful perception, his speed was like a void. Uchiha can penetrate Watergate's offensive intent every time and fight back in the simplest and most brutal way. He is naturally no stranger to the Flying Thunder God. His own brother died under the Flying Thunder God between 1,000 hands. How can he follow the way of the Flying Thunder God again? He is a dirt body. His physical strength is endless. Watergate has been fighting with him for hundreds of rounds. Just at the beginning of the use of the Flying Thunder God can also deal with the ease. At this moment, under the serious consumption of physical strength and chakra, the whole body is numb. He can only use every bit of strength carefully. Otherwise, under the protracted war, he will definitely be consumed alive by Madara alive. Madara's fists and feet attacked like a storm. His body was as agile as a spirit snake, and his attack was as fierce as a fierce tiger, without giving Bofeng Shuaman a chance to breathe. Watergate was about to turn around and retreat. Madara followed closer, closing the distance, and at the same time raised his right knee and kicked directly into Watergate's throat. A trace of fear flashed in Watergate's eyes, and he quickly crossed his hands in front of his chest, forming a defensive posture. His knees and arms slammed together, and the heavy force made his arms suddenly numb, and his figure stumbled back a few steps. In the face of Madara, he did not dare to be careless for a moment. The opponent was too strong. He felt like he had returned to the period of beginner physical skills, facing an experienced teacher. After a long battle, Watergate's face became slightly pale. His eyes were full of solemnity, and he secretly thought about countermeasures in his heart. He couldn't continue to drag on like this, and he had to take the opportunity to use the sealing technique. But the problem is that Uchiha will not stand stupidly in place, and someone needs to delay time for him. Boy, isn't this going to work? Uchiha saw that the Watergate was gradually overwhelmed, and shook his head in disappointment. Then he suddenly rushed to the Wave Feng Shui gate. His eyes were full of endless killing intent and cold light. This round, he wanted to end the other party's life. Madara is imposing, like a fierce beast, and Watergate is ready to use the Flying Thunder God to dodge again. The next moment, Obito's figure appeared in front of Watergate, blocking Uchiha Madara, and the sharp wooden thorn in his hand stabbed towards Madara's throat. Uchiha turned attack to defense, dodged the sudden blow with a sideways flash. Although the dirt body can regain his body, it will take time. His body retreats a few steps, looks at the soil that finally appears, and smiles. Do you know how long I waited for you? Obito didn't pay any attention to the crazy criticism in front of him, turned his head towards the water gate and said, Teacher, I'm late. Watergate felt the pressure drop sharply, and Obito's back at the moment seemed so reliable and secure to him. Teacher, hold on a little longer, 3 generations of them will be able to rush back. By the way, Jushinai has been resurrected, and when she recovers, she can also rush over to deal with the 9 tails. Obito stared at Uchiha warily, and said without turning his head. Jushinai. Really resurrected. Watergate's eyes were red, as if in a dream. He knew that Obito would not lie to himself, and his heart, which was already in ashes, instantly surged with power. Good. Watergate's spirit was shocked, and Obito one left and one right opposite Uchiha's spot. Teacher, I am in charge of the main attack, you can feint to assist me, if you find the opportunity, use the contract seal to cut off his connection with the 9 tails. Understood. Bofeng Shuaman bowed his head gently. Obito whispered, and then rushed straight towards Uchiha. In his previous life, he spent some time with Madara under the mountain cemetery, and Obito knew Madara very well, and his strong strength gave him great pride and contempt for all living beings. Except for the original Hokage, no one is in their eyes. Therefore, it is useless to deal with a madman like Madara, he will only feel that you are teaching him, and the only way is to subdue him first, and he will recognize your strength. Obito's figure crashed into Uchiha like a meteor, and when the two were several meters apart, they accelerated and collided at the same time, colliding in midair. Bang! A huge impact sounded, Rao was blessed by the cells between the columns, and Obito also felt a shock of chi and blood, but he did not stop attacking. His figure flashed, and he had already appeared behind the other party, and the kuwu in his hand pierced the back of the opponent's heart like a black lightning. His figure is fast like a ghost, dazzling, difficult to capture, and ordinary people simply do not have time to react. But Madara's pupils were like frog eyes, shaking left and right, and immediately felt the energy coming from behind, and subconsciously flashed sideways. But the next moment, a yellow flash flashed, and in an instant he approached and pressed a palm on his back. Contract seal. Madara felt his connection with the 9 tails suddenly broken. The 3 hook jade eyes in the eyes of the 9 tails on the side suddenly returned to vertical pupils, and he glanced at Obito and Uchiha who were fighting, as well as the wave feng shui gate. Yang Tian roared, abominable human being, Lao Su is finally free. And then he ran away from Konoha without looking back. He is not stupid, the 3 people in front of him have the strength to suppress and seal themselves, and if they don't run away now, when the 3 of them free their hands, they will definitely live that dark life again. However, before escaping, he condensed a tailed beast jade in his mouth and smashed it straight towards Uchiha. God knows how much the 9 tails hated Uchiha Madara. Without him, the 9 tails would not have been sealed into Mito's body by the Senju pillar, and would have been sealed by Konoha Daioh from then on. Beast. Uchiha's eyes were shining, and if it weren't for Obito still watching here, he would have rushed over to clean up the 9 tails. Obito and Watergate both used the Flying Thunder God to dodge the tailed beast jade, while Madara directly opens Susanoo and splits the tailed beast jade with one sword. The dark purple-tailed beast jade flew to the bottom of the canyon with huge power, and a huge light rose up into the sky. After the explosion, only Obito appeared in front of Uchiha, and he asked Watergate to return to the village to gather a group of ninjas who were good at sealing. At this moment, above the End Valley, Uchiha is standing on his own statue, and Obito is standing on the statue between the pillars. It's time to settle the grudge between you and me. Obito, I learned from Heiju's mouth that your actions completely deviated from my plan. Uchiha's face was full of displeasure and said, what you are doing is just like when I was young, trying to gain the approval of others is a sign of childishness. Madara, I should have told you that all this is just a conspiracy, you are just a black pawn. Obito has witnessed the rise of Naruto with his own eyes, and naturally does not believe Uchiha's nonsense. So what? Knowing all this, wouldn't it be good for you to erase the Black Absolute Seal? The Eye of the Moon plan can still be carried out to the last step as usual. Uchiha raised his eyebrows, and said in a harsh tone. The plan of the Eye of the Moon has failed in obstacles, and it has nothing to do with the original intention. Obito's brows furrowed, and he asked unceremoniously, don't you know that the fantasy world you constructed will make everyone in the world turn into walking dead like Baiju? I just erased the painful part of their lives and let them live in happy times every day. Do you know that the people at the bottom of this world live in hell every day, and I can let them enjoy a happy life? Uchiha didn't care, gushing. Oh, things develop regularly. Why do the relics of the old era manipulate the fate of the new generation? In order to make up for your own unfortunate life, you have to take the lives of more people. Quote. Obito was tired of hearing Madara in his previous life, this kind of old man who has lived for an unknown amount of time, his thoughts have long been as smelly and hard as the stones next to the pit. Obito, don't you understand yet? As long as there are ninjas, the strife will not stop. I am curing the cancer of this world. Uchiha furrowed his brows. Obito's metaphor poked at his heart. He has lived from the Warring States period to the present, and he has long lost any bonds in this world. Relatives, old friends, old enemies. All lost in the long river of time. The real cancer is you. Obito countered indifferently. Then try it. Let me see if your strength is worthy of your big words. Susanoo. A mountain-sized complete body Susanoo suddenly appeared, golden eyes shining with brilliant golden light, like a light illuminating the dark night, wearing majestic blue armor, on which the chakra condensed like substance, like a clear sapphire. The wings changed from the armor on his back suddenly opened, with the aura of enveloping mountains and rivers, and the blade of the giant sword in his hand was like autumn frost, and between swings, the sword chi split the dark clouds in the sky into several ravines. Madara stood on top of Susanoo's head with his hands down, presenting the posture of a martial god who was watching the world. Such a force that destroys the world. You ask the ants of the new era if they can understand. Uchiha looked blank and said proudly. Madara, strength doesn't decide everything. Otherwise the world will become monotonous. Obito said, and the whole person's momentum suddenly changed. The eyes of the Shinwei blood wheel burst into red light, and the surging black chakra erupted from the body, turning into a black skeleton, and the chakra was like a black flame steaming. The black skeleton rose up, and the body grew a pitch-black huge flesh and blood tendon. The Crow Tengu armor wrapped the whole body with the chakra coat, and the chakra dancing around the body like a monster's tentacles settled down and condensed into substance. Between the swings of the black wings, the wind and clouds roared, and the thunder sounded. If Madara is a martial god who looks at the world, then Obito is like a demon god crawling out of the abyss at this moment, and the golden light in his eyes is the last clarity of the demon god. Unexpectedly, you will also evolve Susanoo to its final form. In terms of talent, you are equal to me. Madara looked at Obito's eyes with a hint of appreciation, as if he saw his original shadow. It's all thanks to you. Spot. Quote. Obito's voice is like an empty valley ghost, low and hoarse and hollow, echoing between heaven and earth. Uchiha still had a persuasive tone. If you have such power, you should understand that from ancient times to the present, there is no reason for the strong to compromise with the weak. Obito shook his head and said resolutely, if there was no before, then the future will start with me. Then let me see if you have this strength. Madara no longer consumes lips and tongues, he wants to use his strength to make Obito submit. Two huge Susanoo held up their wings at the same time, took off from between the two statues of the End Valley, and suddenly collided in the air. The two come and go. The inky jade-colored divine power long knife meets the azure giant sword. One is like a time and space crack that swallows everything. The other is like a dazzling light blade that destroys everything. The needle point is against my mang, each does not give way. The two sides clashed, the swords and shadows overlapped, the roar of the explosion resounded in the world, the momentum overshadowed the thunder, and the roaring wind wave cut the clouds in the sky. The attack frequency of the two gods of war became higher and higher, and the momentum was getting bigger and bigger, and before they knew it, they flew into the sky. The sound of thunder, the whistling of wind and clouds, and the explosion of knives colliding are endless, sometimes like the noisy rain, sometimes like a drizzle. Such a loud sound had long attracted Konoha and the others, who looked at the two behemoths in the air with disbelief in their eyes. Even the high-ranking Konoha officials such as Tsunade and Watergate, who took the lead, were shocked, and a battle of this level was rare in life. It's the battle between the tailed beasts, it's just that. Watergate murmured. Obito maneuvers Susanoo in the air to fight selflessly, and although he is now inextricably fighting with Uchiha, he does not know where the limit of the opponent's dirt power is. In other words, if this war of attrition is fought to the end, the loser must be him. Just when he was anxious, a low voice sounded in his head. Obito. Obito said suspiciously, huh. ISO-G. Said slowly, integrate my power into your body. Quote. Huh. Are you willing to lend me strength? Obito asked suspiciously, wondering why Isoto suddenly underwent such a big change. You can say the same thing as Yuya. I am willing to believe you once, but you have to promise me that one day you reach the realm of Yuya, and you must let me go free. Isoji said slowly. Okay, I promise you. Obito decisively agreed. In an instant, a huge chakra rushed from the Dantian with soil to his whole body, merging into Susanoo through the blood chakra eye. The already imposing Susa god of war was more powerful when he boarded. The inky jade-colored Susanoo was more powerful. The divine power long knife in his hand was more condensed. The blade body appeared mysterious patterns, and a gray-white Zon armor wrapped Susanoo again. At the same time, the phantom of Isoji appeared around Susanoo's body, shrouding it like a bubble. Mata, this is a power that you have never mastered. This is complete animalization. Uchiha's expression finally revealed a solemnity, and then he turned to relief. Very good, Obito, you always surprise me. Quote. 3 tails can have such a big increase, if you put the 9 tails. Gathering the 9-tailed beasts, even the original pillar must not be my opponent. Madara shone with belligerent madness and excitement in his eyes, and roared, come on, let me see the power of the new generation. Quote. Kamui. Extinction. Quote. Obito raised the mighty long knife with both hands, and the void-charged power, unleashing a supreme nether strike. Kamui. Extinction. Quote. Obito raised the mighty long knife with both hands, and the void-charged power, unleashing a supreme nether strike. The inky jade-colored Susanoo fell from the sky, like an abyss demon god, and the thunder and lightning flashed in the sky, like the root whiskers of trees, becoming the background of the demon god. The Azure Susa god of war also moved his full strength towards the abyss demon god above, like 2 meteors colliding. A huge explosion will destroy the land on the valley. The onlookers of Konoha had to retreat hundreds of meters away. The power of the dirt gives Madara a constant supply of power, and Mio does not spare any effort to help Obito. Obito frantically urged the Shinwei blood chakra eye. Blood and tears could not stop flowing down. Despite the repair of the cells between the columns, he still felt that his eyes were extremely painful, as if he was almost blind. But he can't take care of that much anymore. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Obito's face was hideous, and his eyes showed a fierce killing intent. At this moment, the anger that had been used and calculated in the previous life erupted in this concentrated place, and the next moment, the dazzling white glow was as dazzling as the scorching sun. Violent fluctuations centered on this, rippling around, washing everything around them. After a long while, everything finally returned to calm. A figure fell from the air and landed next to the river under the canyon. 1. Obito looked up at the sky at the beginning of the morning sun and found that his vision was blurry, and he could only vaguely see a blurry scene. At this time, Tsunade and Watergate rushed over, and a crystal-clear green light appeared in Tsunade's hands, healing Obito. She said with a solemn expression, the muscles and veins of the whole body have been damaged, but fortunately, there is a force that is constantly repairing. Obito vaguely saw Tsunade's blurry and beautiful face, and said, Tsunade. Your fear of blood bleeding is better. Tsunade bowed his head. Madara is the body of filthy earth, quickly seal him while he condenses his body. Obito muttered. Don't worry. Watergate has already passed with a temporarily formed sealing class. A voice sounded, making his heart sink. What happened? Madara recovered his combat power so quickly. Obito frowned. The eyes cannot see, and the situation can only be judged by the sound that comes into the ears. No, it was the Great Snake Pill who used the Yagi Great Snake technique to delay time. Tsunade's solemn voice sounded in Obito's ears. In the distance, the Yagi Great Serpent stretched out its 8 huge bodies and was fighting the ninja of Konoha. The huge body is inaccessible, and the white snake will swallow an unlucky ghost into its belly under the letter of the letter. The body of the guardian Madara of the Great Snake Pill is not allowed to be sealed by Konoha's ninja. At the same time, a giant snake quickly broke through the crowd and snaked out, thinking of swimming in the direction of taking soil. It's the psychic beast of the Great Snake Pill, 10,000 snakes. Tsunade's pretty face showed a delicate black pattern that spread all the way to the chin. Drink. Her right hand condensed chakra, and her figure jumped up, and a huge force blasted towards the huge head of 10,000 snakes. Tsunade. 10,000 snakes let out a mournful cry, turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. The Big Snake Pill secret path is not good, but I didn't expect Tsunade to cure the fear of blood. At this time, several thick chakra chains flew towards Uchiha's half-condensed body. Ju Shinai. You didn't actually die. Quote. Compared to Tsunade's cure of hemophobia, the appearance of Ju Shinai shocked the Big Snake Pill even more, and he panicked and blocked Ju Shinai's Vajra chain with his body. Unbelievable. After being pulled away from the tailed beast, he was still alive, as if he was nothing. I must hold out a little longer, and when Uchiha recovers from the filthy soil, without the obstruction of Uchiha with soil, he will definitely be able to take Konoha. Orochimaru made up his mind and survived to the end. The Vajra chain tugged at his flesh, and a huge spiral pill hit one of his snake heads. It's Bofeng Shuiman. The other snake heads of the Big Snake Pill attacked the Wave Feng Shui Gate, but they all pounced. Watergate has long flown elsewhere with the art of flying thunder. At this time, Heiju came out of the earth at this time, and said sadly, Great Snake Pill, 8 Flying Sun Chopper rushed towards this side with the other 4 shadows. Quote. Phew. Pity. It seems that it is too late. Quote. The Big Snake Pill spits out the snake letter. With his ability, it must be too late to defeat the 5 shadows. Highway. Let's go. Only another opportunity. Quote. Orochimaru picked up half of Uchiha's body and fled underground. In a hidden cave, Orochimaru and Kuroji, who have recovered their human bodies, guard Uchiha Madara. Obito, in terms of strength, you are as strong as the pillars in my mind. In the air, countless fragments slowly fused and gathered into the prototype of Uchiha's head. Fang Kai's immense power did make him feel a sense of annihilation, although he did not feel pain. Mata, it's better to take this opportunity to destroy the 5 shadows. You should be able to do it with your strength. Hey. Ju suggested compassionately. Yes, Madara-sama, why don't you take Uchiha with you right here? The Big Snake Pill also eagerly echoed. He paid such a big price, did not hesitate to expose himself, defected to Konoha, isn't it the flesh of Uchiha with soil? Fang Kai's heaven-destroying blow couldn't even be blocked by Uchiha. Uchiha thought for a moment, glanced at the 2 subordinates who were each pregnant with ghosts, and waved his hand. Don't be in a hurry, go and retrieve the Eye of Reincarnation first, as for Obito, leaving him in Konoha will have a greater effect on us. The people of several other villages will not let him go, and when the time comes, they will take advantage of the chaos to collect the tailed beast. Quote. Orochimaru thought about Obito's body, and his eyes were salivating, but because of Uchiha's courage, he could only do it angrily. Uchiha looked in Konoha's direction and said, the next time I come to Konoha, it's not just such a person. Quote. Obito was overconsumed, and after a day of coma, there was still no sign of awakening. During this time, the mysterious screen reappeared above the night sky, attracting the attention of the ninja world. At this time, the news of Konoha's attack had spread all over the ninja world. Familiar words appear on the screen. Act 6 will be played soon. Night of the Extermination. Now open to the discussion group. Before the video was played, the discussion group was already bustling. Passerby I heard, Konoha was attacked by a powerful existence, and even the tailed beast was lost. I heard it's someone from the Uchiha family. That must be Uchiha with soil. Not long after the video was broadcast, Konoha was attacked, not him, who else? I think so too. The results of the 5-cage talks came out, and the 3rd generation of Hokage was able to protect Uchiha with soil, claiming that he was pure in nature and would not hurt Konoha. Gee, Konoha is really to blame. If Uchiha Obito can be called pure in nature, then I am the great sage. There was a sigh in the discussion group, and they all thought that it was because the 3 generations of Hokage insisted on shielding Uchiha with the soil, and Konoha ushered in this calamity. The title of this video exposure is The Night of Extinction. I don't know which unlucky family is going to be targeted by Uchiha with soil. Someone led the conversation to a screen in the sky. Water Ghost. Being targeted by him, it may be no good thing, God forbid, don't be my Misty family. Civil Engineering Construction Master. Don't come and get involved with my Yenian's family, please. The Puppet King. Our Cheyenne family is panicking now, who understands? Quote. It's hot and tempery, don't make trouble if I don't smile. A few fools, my Union family is not afraid. Quote. Quote. In the midst of everyone's discussion, the image gradually emerged. Start playing. Night shrouded this hidden forest, the sky was obscured by dark clouds, and the moonlight could not penetrate. The woods are dark and quiet. There was a gloomy and cold breath in the air, making people breathless. The masked man arrived as promised, looked at the Uchiha weasel in front of him, and bowed his head. Okay. According to the agreement. Then, do as agreed. Uchiha looked expressionlessly at the masked man in front of him. The reason why I helped you annihilate Uchiha is not only for revenge, but also for other purposes. You shouldn't have seen this. The masked man instructed specifically. The discussion group was in an uproar, and the masked man's words had made the goal clear. It's been a long time, it's Konoha's Uchiha. Uchiha really poured blood mold to raise Uchiha Obito, this white-eyed wolf. Are you telling me not to use the blood chakra eye to record your actions? Uchiha Itachi seems to have insight into the psychology of the masked man. The masked man faced the Uchiha genius in front of him, who was close to the demon, and could only threaten silently. Yes, this is also proof that I let your brother have a way to live. I don't need a child without blood chakra. Slaughtering the whole clan and blackmailing people's younger brothers is something that people can do. Who is this teenager? Why didn't his brother have to die? Maybe it's a relationship. Don't worry, because I have no other way out except to believe in you. The weasel smiled faintly, and the laughter contained helplessness. As soon as the picture turned, the masked man appeared in the Uchiha clan from the whirlpool of time and space. Who are you? The doorman on the night shift said to the uninvited guest. Answering them was the long knife in the hand of the masked man. The long knife braved the cold air, and I saw a flash of blood, and the 2 headless corpses fell in a pool of blood. At this time, a Uchiha girl smelled the movement and rushed over. Yo, nice eyes. The Uchiha spring of the 3-hook jade blood wheel eye attracted Obito's attention. Uchiha Izumi threw 2 kunai, which went straight through the figure of the masked man. How is it possible? Uchiha Izumi said in disbelief. Her intuition told her that the enemy in front of her was not her match, and she must tell the adults in the clan immediately. An iron rope bound Uchiha Izumi's fleeing figure and violently pulled her body back. Help! Weasel! In the girl's terrified eyes, the masked man raised his long knife and stabbed her heavily into her lower abdomen. The masked man reached out and clasped out Uchiha Izumi's 3-hook jade blood chakra eyes, and a vortex appeared in his eyes, sucking it into it. Then he walked leisurely towards Uchiha's police department building. Soon after, there were screams in the building, some people died under butcher knives before they could react, and some were directly thrown from the tall building. On this night, in the Uchiha clan, there was a short and rapid scream from time to time, and blood sprayed on the window, staining the window paper. The killing continued until the second half of the night. On a roof on the Uchiha clan. The agreement is complete. The masked man said indifferently, and then turned into a whirlpool and left Konoha. The picture stopped abruptly. It's so miserable, you can smell blood across the screen. Have you noticed? Uchiha took the soil to gouge out the blood wheel eyes of those deceased. Could it be that he slaughtered the clansmen for the blood wheel eyes? He is so strong, the entire Uchiha family is not his opponent. Have you forgotten? He has an unfathomable virtual ability, and the first time he is on it, unless he has the reaction power like the wave feng shui gate, he will definitely hit the Dao. Quote. Play Easter eggs now. Bloody collection, ghost eyes. Uchiha Sasuke slowly opened his eyes and felt a sharp headache. He looked around and found himself lying in a dark room with the masked man next to him. The masked man has transplanted Uchiha Itachi's blood wheel eyes for him. At this time, Sasuke Uchiha noticed that there were nearly 200 transparent cabinets on the wall behind the masked man, each of which was soaked with a pair of blood chakra eyes, preserved in the form of living bodies. It's all Uchiha's clan. Although many years had passed since the night of extermination, looking at this bloody scene, Sasuke still felt that the painful night was yesterday. Hundreds of pairs of blood chakra eyes on the wall are like the clansmen are staring at him. He must carry Uchiha on his back, and let the ninja world give Uchiha an explanation. Is this the world that the weasel's eyes see? Sasuke Uchiha touched his eyes. In order to protect you, Weasel, he used these eyes to see the darkness of the world for you. The masked man said. Quote. Why? Why is this? Uchiha Sasuke's breathing is heavier, almost mad. Because the high level of Konoha is afraid of Uchiha and covets Uchiha's power. Your brother is sandwiched between Konoha and Uchiha, and the high level of Konoha uses you as a blackmail. Out of love for you, he personally slaughtered his own people. The masked man said slowly. Konoha. Konoha. Uchiha Sasuke seemed to feel the entanglement, helplessness and pain in Uchiha Itachi's heart when he faced the orders of Konoha's high level. Konoha's high level drove Uchiha to a remote corner of the village, and arranged another annoying errand, the purpose of which was to alienate the distance between the Uchiha family and Konoha, so as to cause conflicts, and finally let Itachi do it. I'm going to destroy Konoha. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes are full of killing intent. The picture stopped abruptly. Discussion group. This boy should be the younger brother who was let go, and the weasel should be the Uchiha boy at the beginning of the image. Uchiha has finished killing with the soil, and he has to plant blame. This is how much hatred of Konoha. It's too miserable. Konoha is too miserable. Uchiha is too miserable. Now for the prize quiz. 3 successful guesses will be randomly selected to distribute rewards. Question. In the night of Uchiha's extermination, what is the most direct reason why Uchiha took the soil to slaughter the Uchiha family with his own hands? A. He covets the power of the Uchiha family's blood chakra eye and wants to exterminate the clan to collect the blood chakra eye for future use. B. He accepted Itachi's invitation, feeling that extermination could eliminate some of the threats without losing much. C. He is brainwashed by Uchiha and believes in the Eye of the Moon salvation plan, believing that extermination is a necessary means to achieve infinite moon reading. D. He thinks that the dead will be resurrected in the world of infinite moon reading, ignoring the guilt and consequences of killing his fellow citizens. The discussion group was surprisingly lively because the question seemed to mention the answer in the words of the masked man in the video. I will this question is definitely B. It is said in the image, they have an agreement, Uchiha Obito is to help the Itachi clan. That's just Uchiha's side of the earth, or it may be that Uchiha's invitation is right in his arms, and he also happens to want to take the blood chakra eye. So choose A. I think that choosing D. Uchiha Obito has always advertised himself as a savior, and he did not have the slightest pity and guilt in the process of slaughtering his own people, indicating that he may feel that he is doing the right thing. Then I think it's okay to choose C. Uchiha and Uchiha Obito were both born in the Uchiha family, and the Moon Eye plan in their mouth may be a secret technique recorded in the Uchiha family, and getting rid of the Uchiha family can also remove a potential threat. Big Guy 666. There are more guesses, and the analysis is all the first to go. With so many brothers who understand it, the discussion group suddenly wavered. 5 minutes passed quickly. Announce the correct answer now. B. Lying groove, thinking too much. Sure enough, direct analysis is the option closest to the answer. Winners are now announcing their prizes. Congratulations on also remembering dance to get the reward, resurrection. Congratulations to the monks for getting the reward, cells are strengthened. Congratulations to Uchiha for winning the reward, 9 tails. The moment the reward came out, the discussion group fried the pan again. Isn't it? Can people be resurrected after death? No. How do you answer questions when you die? Didn't Uchiha get Mio Iso? How do you reward a 9-tailed again? Can a human pillar force seal 2-tailed beasts at the same time? What is a cell? Does this Uchiha really win the lottery every time? Shady, I said tired. This time there was a resurrection reward, and the voice of discussion in the discussion group even overshadowed Uchiha and obtained the 9 tails. Only the dead can be resurrected, but people cannot answer questions when they are dead. What a contradiction. What's going on? At this moment, the system's announcement sounded again. Discussion group closed. Somewhere hidden inside a canyon. A golden light fell from the sky, like a golden neon robe draped over Uchiha's body. Uchiha was bathed in golden light, and after a long time, the golden light retreated. This is the feeling of the flesh. Uchiha excitedly cut his arm, feeling the pain of blood flowing. He stuck out his tongue and tasted the taste of blood, and immediately looked up to the sky and laughed. No need for reincarnation. The laughter attracted Kuroju and Orochimaru. Madara-sama, are you really resurrected? Orochimaru looked at Uchiha with a shocked look on his smooth face, and there was no crack after the rebirth of filthy soil. Madara turned his head and there was nothing in the hole in his eye. Miracle. It's really a miracle. I will answer the questions well next time. After receiving an affirmative answer, Orochimaru's tone was filled with unprecedented eagerness. Congratulations, Madara. Heiju said compassionately. Now, go to Yuyin village immediately, I will retrieve my eyes. Uchiha's heart was restless. As long as he retrieves the eye of reincarnation, with his strength and means, as long as he gets Uchiha with the soil, the dream is close at hand. As everyone knows, behind him who can't see him, there is a sly smile at the corner of Heiju's mouth. When Obito woke up, he found a burly man next to him looking at him. From the blurred vision, it can be vaguely seen that this white-headed and white-haired man should be Zilai. Jiraiya. You're not dead. Or am I also in the Pure Land? Obito asked cautiously. His eyesight was severely impaired, and the world was foggy in his eyes at the moment. Say that this is a pure land, take the land to believe. Obito, are you cheating? Why are you obviously asleep and can still get rewards without answering the questions? Jiraiya looked at Obito strangely and explained. What reward? Obito asked. At this moment, a roar came from the body, which made Obito squirm. Uchiha little ghost, what did you move? Why was Uncle Ben inexplicably sealed in your body? The angry roar of the Nine Tails has been echoing in Obito's heart. Heaven pity to see, he was finally pulled out of the smelly girl body of Jushinai by Uchiha Ban, and finally waited for the wave feng shui gate to seal Uchiha Ba in his contract. Before he could enjoy himself for a day, he was sent to Uchiha Obito's body by a golden light. Hey, how is the Nine Tails inside me? Obito looked confused. Jiraiya looked strange, and told the story that Obito was obviously asleep last night, and finally received the Nine Tails reward. After Obito listened, he also said strangely, you mean, I didn't answer the question, but I still got a reward. Otherwise, how could the Nine Tails run into your body? Zilai asked rhetorically. But I already have a Isoji in my body, and now I have another Nine Tails, will it really not have an impact? Obito asked. This is also the first time I've encountered it. As he spoke, he lifted his tunic with soil and said. Strange, there is no trace of sealing on your belly button, and the 3 tails and 9 tails should be sealed in your body in a way that we don't know. Obito thoughtfully turned to the 3 tails and 9 tails in his body and asked, do you know what's going on? Quote. It is true that the chakras of different tailed beasts can coexist in a person's body, but I really can't sense the existence of the sealing technique. 9. Tails. HMPH, your body is indeed more free than other people's pillar power, and it should be a world of its own. Obito told Jiraiya what the 2-tailed beast said intact. Zilai, a world of its own. I only know that the 3 holy places are the secret realms in the ninja world. Quote. Obito feels that the heaven and earth in this body may be similar to his own divine power space, and it must be given to him by the mysterious screen in the sky. By the way, how did you survive? Thanks to Ozuna overcoming hemophobia, I saved my life in time. At this time, a flying paper crane slowly flew in. Zilai also took the paper crane, slowly spread it out, and suddenly changed his face. What's wrong? Obito vaguely felt that something was wrong. Nagato has been arrested. Nagato has been arrested. Zilai said in a solemn tone. This is Xiaonan's paper crane. She should be near Konoha. Quote. Obito touched the paper crane, and there was Xiaonan's chakra on it. Zelie also bowed his head and said, "An enchantment has risen in the village, I think she should not be able to enter. You have to find a way to let Xiao Nan in order to know the ins and outs of the matter." "Don't worry, I have a way." Zelie also channeled a small toad, ordered it a few words, and asked it to go to the water gate. After a long time, Toad brought Xiao Nan to the two. "Teacher, bring soil." Xiao Nan looked at the two and breathed heavily. 3 days ago, Nagato was captured by a monk. Monk. Not Uchiha Madara. Obito frowned. Xiao Nan shook his head and condensed a monk's mannequin with paper. He wears a white feather coat with IV tattoos under his left eye, a long braid on the back of his head, a red shield around his neck and wrists, and red earrings on his ears. Obito said with a wry smile, "I can't see it for the time being. But my gut tells me that this is not Madara's doing. By the way, Obito, there was a monk in the reward list yesterday, could it be related to this person?" Jirai also informed Obito of the other two awards. "You mean, there's a man who has been resurrected?" Obito focused his attention on the other person. The pupils in his eyes shrank, and he muttered, "Do you think of dancing too?" This phrase is so familiar. The next moment, he realized who the resurrected life was. Yes, everyone feels strange, how a dead person answers questions. People in the Pure Land can't see the screens in the sky. Lai also locked his brows, puzzled. The dead can fight. Why can't dead people answer questions? Obito asked rhetorically. Masaga, are you saying that this person who was resurrected is Uchiha? If we talk about the body of filthy soil, everything makes sense. Quote. I suddenly realized. I think this thing is strange. Obito said. Intuition told him that it wasn't Nagato who Uchiha kidnapped, but where did such a mysterious monk come from? Obito raised his head and asked, Konan, Yahiko, are they okay? It's okay, that monk only robbed Nagato and flew away. Konan, she was thinking of rushing to Konoha day and night to find Jiraiya or bring soil to help. I didn't expect that at this moment, Konoha was devastated, and Jiraiya seemed to be seriously injured, and Obito couldn't see it. Xiaonan, don't worry, you'll find Nagato. Obito sensed Xiaonan's sad and depressed emotions, and could only be relieved first. Konoha high-level meeting room. 3 generations of Hokage. Due to your decision-making mistakes in this 3 battles, the ninjas on the front line were killed and injured a lot, plus the loss of the 9 tails this time, I think you need to give an explanation to the village. Second Elder Uchiha spoke. Whether it is the negligence of strategy in the 3 battles, or the loss caused by the village's lack of strict defense this time, the responsibility is on me, and I have decided to resign from the position of Hokage. Ape Flying Sun Chopper said crisply and neatly. As soon as these words came out, although everyone was surprised, they had long known that this meeting was a decision to select a new Hokage. A smile was outlined at the corner of Danzo's mouth, and he said with a smile. But Konoha can't live without Hokage, so we have to choose someone who is young and qualified, can serve the public, and has always made outstanding contributions to the village, to be the 5th generation Hokage. I think this position is none other than Danzo-sama. In terms of strength, generation, and contribution, Master Tuanzang can do this important job. Second Elder Uchiha stood up in time and said. As soon as Uchiha Patriarch Fugaku died, he, the second elder, temporarily served as Uchiha's minister. Ape Fei saw that everyone's eyes were on Tuanzang, and said, I propose Bofeng Shuaman, he has made great achievements in the 3 battles, and in this attack on the village, he also made a great contribution, transferred Uchiha in time, and at the same time delayed precious time for the village. In terms of talent, strength, and wisdom, Watergate is enough but the taste of the fire shadow. I don't think it's appropriate. Who in the ninja world doesn't know that Watergate and Uchiha Obito are teacher-student relationships? In the future, if you use this as an excuse to isolate me Konoha, then the village will be very passive in the ninja world in the future. The second elder of Uchiha objected. As soon as these words came out, the representatives of Konoha's major families echoed one after another, except for a few who were attached to Hokage. Since Obito slaughtered the entire Uchiha clan in the video, most of the people in Konoha are hostile to Uchiha Obito, especially the Uchiha family. At this moment, a Uchiha Makoto, wearing a Uchiha skirt, walked in. Everyone stood up one after another to greet the widow of the former patriarch of Uchiha. Unlike Obito's decisive battle at End Valley, the battle between Uchiha Fugaku and Madara was on the edge of Konoha, and everyone witnessed the battle. They have also witnessed the scene of this Uchiha patriarch sacrificing for the village, so the status of Uchiha Makoto at this moment is extremely high. Her voice was soft, with a hint of sadness. I came for one thing, to present my husband's suicide note to Naruto-sama. Quote. Makoto Uchiha walked to the 8th flying sun with a big belly, handed over the suicide note, and left directly. In front of everyone's eyes, Sarutobi opened the suicide note in public, and the content written on it made him frown. Patriarch Fugaku personally recognized Uchiha's next patriarch as Uchiha with soil. As soon as the words fell, everyone was in an uproar. Nani? Impossible, absolutely impossible. How can a person who wants to destroy the family be worthy of being the patriarch? Second elder Uchiha stepped forward to take the letter, and after reading it, his voice trembled. It is indeed the handwriting of Patriarch Fuyu. Naruto-sama, the daimyo is here. All the high-ranking people present in Konoha looked solemn, and they all stood up to greet the daimyo of the Fire Nation. Ninjas don't have to produce, and despite their superior strength, they still have to show their loyalty when facing the monarch, otherwise they will be under Katsukami. Daimyo, why are you here? Sarutobi asked in a low voice. The daimyo of the Fire Nation is a majestic and kind old man who wears a dark blue cardigan with a golden crown on his head and a flame-shaped badge on his chest. He is followed by several loyal guards and advisors, as well as Konoha's guardian ninja. When I heard that Konoha was attacked, I came to offer my condolences, and I was told that I might have to decide on a new Hokage candidate today. He walked into Konoha's conference room, nodded to the Konoha ninja in the room, and then sat straight down on the main seat. Glancing at everyone, he cleared his throat and said in a calm and powerful voice, "Sit down." A high-ranking member of Konoha sat down. Since the daimyo-sama is present, then I recommend the Wave Feng Shui Gate as the 4th generation Hokage. 8th Flying Sun said solemnly. The daimyo of the Fire Nation turned his head and raised an eyebrow. Xiaochun immediately agreed. He is Jiraiya's apprentice, the apprentice of the 3rd generation of Hokage. Good. The daimyo nodded in satisfaction. 8th Flying Sun Chopper then added. He is known as the elite of Yellow Flash. Quote. Daimyo, Watergate is too young, and he's Uchiha Obito's teacher. I don't think he's fit to be the 4th Hokage. Tuan Zhang stood up and refuted. Uchiha Obito. Is it the madman who declared war on the ninja world in the video, summoned the Nine Tails to attack Konoha, and slaughtered the Uchiha family? The daimyo frowned and said, if it's the teacher of this kind of person, it's really not suitable to be a Hokage. Daimyo, the 3rd generation of the Lord is still trying to protect Uchiha with the soil in the 5-cage talks, openly arguing with other villages, making me Konoha an enemy of other villages. Tuan Zhang took the opportunity to say, Hokage, is there such a thing? The daimyo turned his head and asked, his eyes sharp. Daimyo, according to my observations, the things in the image do not happen in reality. Uchiha Obito is the patriarch of Fugaku's king, and this time guarding Konoha, it is also he who fought to the death to block Uchiha Madara. 8th Flying Sun replied with an unchanged expression. The daimyo shook his head and said, what matters is not the truth, but the opinion of the world. Let's change another person with red roots to serve as Hokage. Quote. 8th Fei Ri's face was ugly, and he sat down dejectedly. He originally wanted to decide internally to go out of the water gate and nominate the daimyo again. Unexpectedly, Danzo invited the daimyo halfway. If Konoha is handed over to Danzo, it will inevitably be bloody in the future. Sarutobi thought worriedly. But what else can be done now? Tuan Zhang looked happy and said, Daimyo, now that the village is injured and everything is in ruins, I, as a disciple of the 2nd generation Hokage, just happen to have a suitable candidate. Oh, when did the 2nd generation Hokage have such a young disciple as you? The daimyo looked at Danzo, who was only in his early 20s, with a curious face. Daimyo, I am Shimura Danzo, I have an adventure, I have returned to youth, and I have countless energy to paint the ground for Konoha's liver and brain. Tuan Zhang said excitedly. You. Are you a group collection? Can you return to youth? The Eyes of the daimyo of the Fire Nation suddenly flashed with essence. For him to have it all, nothing is more tempting than returning to youth. Yes, daimyo, I will report this to you later. I want to say that the most suitable candidate in my heart to be the Hokage is. Danzo has never been so anxious in his life. That's me, Jiraiya. Just as Tuan Zhang was about to say his name, Jirai, who was wearing a red coat, also walked in slowly. With this shout, Ling Tuanzang almost didn't catch his breath, his eyes were black, and he almost collapsed in his position. Daimyo, long time no see. Oh, it's Jiraiya. The daimyo said with a kind smile. Jiraiya also made a name for himself in World War II, and he is a personal disciple of 3 generations of Hokage, and the daimyo is familiar with him. 8 Fei Richo did not expect that the disciple who had always been lecherous, did not do his job, and only knew how to find a savior and did not know how to share his worries would stand up at this moment. Instantly, there was a feeling of old tears. Among the 3 disciples, one is addicted to gambling and alcoholism, one conducts human body research all day, and the other has the most self-like disposition, who is fooled by the big toad of Miaomu Mountain to look for a savior all over the world. But if there is a contending spirit, the 8th flying sun will not push out the apprentice. Since he is also a great hero who guided the end of the Second Ninja World War, he also has merit in guarding Konoha this time, and no one is more suitable than him. Sarutobi stood up and said. Tuan Zhang's fingertips are almost sinking into the flesh. He didn't expect that he worked hard to lay out, and specially found a daimyo, but he was killed halfway and picked peaches. Hatred filled his chest, and his mind quickly recalled Jiraiya's black material. By nature, unfamiliar with the business of the village, lack of leadership skills. None of this is enough reason for impeachment. I also agree that Jiraiya should be the 4th generation Hokage. At this moment, a heroic figure walked in. Oh, it's the princess of Konoha. The daimyo greeted warmly. Tsunade is the granddaughter of the Senju pillar, the only concubine of the Senju clan, and her status is transcendent. In terms of family background, strength, and appearance, everything is top-notch, and over the years, the country of fire has many royal thoughts and thousands of hands. It's a pity that they were all rejected by Tsunade. At this moment, seeing Tsunade let go, the daimyo smiled and said. If it is Jiraiya, it is most appropriate to be the 4th generation Hokage. For him, the self-roots are red and can control, and this is enough. Hey, Tuan Zhang, what's wrong with your face? The daimyo looked at Danzo with a pig's liver-colored face in amazement. Didn't. It's okay. Tuanzo shook his head. It's okay, I'm still waiting to communicate with you how to return to youth. After the daimyo finished speaking, he got up and said. You are the most powerful force in the Fire Nation, the Fire Country will not forget your efforts, I hope you can cherish everything you have now, and continue to work hard to create a more brilliant and splendid peace and prosperity for the Fire Country. Yes. The high-ranking people of Konoha all bowed their heads respectfully. The daimyo nodded in satisfaction, shook the feather fan in his hand, and strolled away from Konoha. Inside the Hokage reception room, 8 Fei Ri sat cross-legged on the futon and said, Zilai, your appearance surprised me. 3 generations, the inheritance of the will of fire, my generation is duty-bound. Having said that, this knife in my chest can't be taken in vain. Z. Lai also changed his usual hippie smile and said seriously. Well, I'm really relieved that you can say that. I entrust you with the future of Konoha and the future of the ninja world. Ape. Fei Ri listened to the words of his beloved disciple, with tears in his eyes. After so many years, he finally waited for this day. Hinata said solemnly, I originally wanted to hold a succession ceremony in a better environment, but the village has been injured and your road ahead is still very bumpy, so let's rebuild the village as your first stop after succeeding the Hokage. Don't worry, 3 generations. I'm mentally prepared. Quote. Jiraiya was half crouched on the ground, with a resolute look in his eyes. I'm sure you can do it. 8 Flying Sun suddenly smiled. When Jiraiya came out of the reception room, Tsunade was already guarding the door. Yo! Isn't this Konoha's 4th generation Hokage? Tsunade quipped. Thanks to your support, Ozuna. Otherwise, the daimyo would not have agreed so happily. Jiraiya sincerely thanked him. Why are you saying this? I was surprised to hear that you were running for Hokage. Don't you dislike a life of being restrained? Tsunade asked, the doubt in his heart. Well, how long has it been since we sat down and drank together, so let's celebrate in a tavern now. When the time comes, say okay while drinking. Jiraiya hesitated and suggested. Tsunade was furious, and scolded, Yaga, your injury is not healed, what kind of alcohol to drink? 10 minutes later, in the izakaya. Ha! Comfortable. Tsunade put down the empty wine bottle and wiped his mouth. Jiraiya, I didn't support you as a Hokage in vain. There were several bottles of wine and a few plates of side dishes in front of her, and while drinking the wine, she asked Jiraiya, now tell me, why do you suddenly want to be a Hokage? Quote. It's Obito. Jiraiya drank a glass of wine. What did the kid say? Tsunade wondered. He said that I was stabbed for Konoha, and if I didn't get the Hokage, wouldn't it be in vain? Interesting, this kid is interesting. Tsunade laughed and blew another bottle of wine. By the way, where did you hide Rin's girl? Jiraiya asked. Oh, I sent her to the wet bone forest, she has mastered the strange power. I thought that there was nothing more to teach her, so I let her follow the slug, and how many skills she can learn depends on her creation. Tsunade looked like he was shaking his palm. Zilai also bowed his head and said, it's okay, so that I can go back and have an explanation with Obito. The two began to exchange glasses frequently, and the table was soon filled with empty bottles. Jiraiya, I lost a lot of money last month. Tsunade grumbled, that gambling machine is cheating at all. Haven't you changed your gambling addiction yet? Zilai also scoffed, don't you think you lost 9 out of 10 bets? Shut up. Don't think that being a Hokage will teach me a lesson. Tsunade's cheeks turned red and she glared at him fiercely. Gambling is a talent that my grandfather passed on to me. Someday I will win it back. Okay, whatever. Zilai shook his head helplessly. Drink slowly, it hurts the liver. Don't worry, I have the seal of 100 heroes. Tsunade blew in one breath and said with a smile, cheerful. One more bottle. The two continued to drink and chat. They talk about the past and reminisce about the adventures and challenges they have experienced together. They sigh together about the passage of time and the changes in the world. As the amount of alcohol increases, their eyes gradually become confused, and the distance gradually shortens, from sitting opposite each other to grinding their ears. Ozuna, your fear of blood is also cured, don't leave Konoha, stay and help me. Jiraiya whispered next to Tsunade's ear. Are you ordering me now as the future Hokage? Tsunade squinted his eyes and half leaned on Jiraiya. Zilai was also afraid that she would misunderstand, and hurriedly said. Ah no. I am asking you as a friend. Oh, friend. Tsunade lowered his head and remained silent. In return, how about I invite you to drink every day in the future? That's it. When you become Hokage, you can still drink with me every day. Worthy of a ninja in a quest. Tsunade's tone was extremely disdainful. As a princess of 1,000 hands, when did you ever lack money? Ozuna. Jiraiya's cry sounded in her ears. Huh. Tsunade raised his eyes confused, and his lips shining with a seductive sheen. I couldn't help but kiss it, without any warning, only strong emotions and possessiveness. Tsunade's beautiful eyes widened, feeling Jiraiya's extraction, his body was soft, and his hands weakly blocked Jiraiya's chest, trying to push him away. But Zilai also hugged her slender waist tightly, not letting her escape. The heavy breath hit Tsunade's face, making her heart beat for a long time, perhaps because of the alcohol, but it was also slowly sinking into it. But the next moment, Jiraiya's restless big hand slowly climbed up from her lower abdomen, Tsunade snorted, and the wine in her whole body woke up. She violently pushed Zilai away and said angrily, Zilai, dare to dip the old lady's cheapness. Then, a heavy punch knocked Jiraiya flying, and his figure flew upside down like a cannonball, smashed the wooden wall of the izakaya makeshift repair, and fell on the street. Oops, it's heavy, I forgot that my injury is not good, I won't beat the future Hokage to death. Tsunade was afraid for a while, and hurriedly ran over. Sure enough, I saw that the bandage in front of Zilai was dripping with blood, and the whole person was lying on the ground on all fours, looking unconscious. Hey, Jiraiya, don't scare me. Tsunade hurriedly stepped forward to use the palm cactus, and the bright green light in his hand slowly healed Jiraiya's cracked wound. During the treatment, Jiraiya suddenly held Tsunade's hand and muttered. Ozuna, in the future, I will stand in front of you and let me be your safe haven. Tsunade's body was shocked, how she had longed for this sentence in the past, but now it sounded so untrue. Okay. Jiraiya half opened his eyes and asked. The moonlight shines on the eaves of Tsunade's house, silhouetting the house in the dark, one of the few places that hasn't been bombarded by Madara. Tsunade helped Jiraiya back, and since Obito was already asleep, she had to help Jiraiya go up to the second floor to rest. The two entered a spacious guest room with only a tatami mat in it, and Jiraiya sat on it with Tsunade in his arms. Tsunade leaned on his shoulder and listened to him tell interesting stories about his travels around the world, stories that used to be boring now sounded quite vivid. Jiraiya's voice was low and charming, making Tsunade feel reassuring and warm, and inadvertently, the two looked at each other. Jiraiya smiled and held Tsunade's small face, lowered his head and kissed her lips. Tsunade wrapped his arms around Jiraiya's neck and responded enthusiastically, and they gradually got carried away, leaving only each other and the moonlight to each other. In the middle of the night, Obito was awakened by the sound of shaking from upstairs. In his sleep, he thought there was a fight in Tsunade's house. The next moment, the low roar from upstairs from time to time and Tsunade's gasps made his face full of weirdness. If it were Kakashi, he would definitely lie on the ceiling and eavesdrop. Obito couldn't help but think. Gotta go, I'm afraid I can't stop tonight. Obito tried to urge his right eye, and then entered the Kamui space. Out of sight is clean, ear is not annoying. Escape is shameful, but useful. Konoha Root Organization Base. There is only a faint light in this underground space, where countless secrets and sins take place. In the dark and claustrophobic space, two figures stood back and forth, and from time to time there were sounds of conversation. Danzo-sama, the position of Hokage was snatched away by Jiraiya, and Uchiha Fugaku appointed Uchiha to take the soil as the patriarch. How is this good? Second elder Uchiha was full of sadness. I originally wanted to take the hitchhiker of Tuonzo and ascend to the position of patriarch of Uchiha, but now it has all come to naught. What are you afraid of? Wait and see. Danzo glanced sideways at Uchiha Fukusuke, a trace of disdain that was well hidden by him. Although the position of the Hokage was snatched away by Jiraiya, who had been killed halfway, Danzo still looked like an old god. He turned to Uchiha Fukusuke and asked. Have you prepared something ready? The patriarch's blood chakra eye is here. Uchiha Fukusuke carefully took out a container containing the kaleidoscope blood wheel eye, and a thick reluctance flashed in his eyes. Good. Tuanzang nodded in satisfaction and reached out to take it. Master Tuanzang, what should we do next? Uchiha Fukusuke asked cautiously. You don't need to know that. Tuanzang's indifferent voice echoed around. Huh. Uchiha Fukusuke didn't know why, but he was keenly aware of several powerful auras surrounding him. Because dead people don't need to know so many secrets. As soon as the words fell, several combined ninjutsu firmly trapped Uchiha Fukusuke, and then he didn't last long before he was divided by the blade. Uchiha Fukusuke stole Uchiha Fugaku's blood chakra eye and defected to Konoha. Keep his death a secret and not talk about it with anyone. Tuanzang ordered coldly. Yes. In the dark, members of the Root Organization cleaned up Fukusuke's body and quickly evacuated, leaving only Danzo in place. With these eyes that can see the future, plus my eternal youthful body, isn't Konoha within reach? Danzo looked at the container in his hand eagerly, and then couldn't wait to put Fugaku's eyes on. The next moment, the violent rejection made him extremely painful, but at the same time, a cool feeling was born in his body to calm his pain. A bloody blurry image appeared out of thin air in Tuanzang's mind. He saw a pair of reincarnation eyes in his eyes, and then absorbed the huge and hideous outer path golem, and then feathered into a powerful existence beyond recognition. This is the legendary form. Quote. The future Tuanzang is like a flawless white jade, surrounded by several black balls, and the whole person leaves the ground with his feet off the ground, flying in the air, overlooking the people of the ninja world below. That scene made Tuanzang's blood boil and excited. So it is. So it is. He couldn't suppress the ecstasy in his heart, and laughed up to the sky. His whole person seemed to be crazy, his eyes were flowing with blood and tears, and he muttered in his mouth. Everyone will be trampled under my feet. Sarutobi Hinata, Jiraiya, Uchiha Obito. The entire ninja world is going to crawl under my feet. The next morning, the sky gradually brightened, and wisps of golden sunlight passed through the clouds and fell on the Konoha Hokage building. Feeling the warmth and comfort of the sun, a burst of fresh air rushed to his face, and Jiraiya, who was wearing the imperial god robe, was in good spirits, and his face was full of solemnity. Sarutobi walked up to his disciples, followed by Konoha's 2 advisors and Konoha's various high-ranking officials. He slowly took off the shadow hat on his head, held it in both hands, and handed it to Jiraiya. Jiraiya took the shadow hat and put it on his head. Please, Shadaime. Ape Flying Sun said solemnly. Blame the mountains, never give up. Jiraiya walked slowly to the railing with resolute eyes, overlooking the people of Konoha below, the sun shining on his face and the people's hopeful and enthusiastic gazes. As Jiraiya took off his shadow hat, the people of Konoha saw their new Hokage. The cheers suddenly resounded through Konoha, and at this moment, Konoha was dyed golden yellow by the sun, like a brand new picture scroll, about to slowly unfold. After the succession ceremony was completed, after everyone dispersed, only Jiraiya was left standing on the roof of the Hokage building, greeting the spring breeze, not knowing what to think. Congratulations Naruto-sama. Obito appeared from the whirlpool of time and space, and congratulated with a smile. Don't be hippie and smiling, you're the Uchiha patriarch now. Huh. When did I become a patriarch? Quote. Obito wasn't at all surprised that Jiraiya became Hokage. But how did he become the patriarch of Uchiha? Looking at Obito's confused expression, Jiraiya smiled. Such a big thing, the whole Konoha knows, as far as you, the Uchiha patriarch, don't know. It was personally designated in Fugaku's suicide note, and he believes that you can lead Uchiha further in the future. Don't the Uchiha people have an opinion? Obito asked hesitantly. In the video, he slaughtered the entire Uchiha clan, and in a blink of an eye, he made himself the patriarch. How could Uchiha agree up and down? At that time, he will only be erected by people and become a light pole commander. That's the first thing I want you to do, help me deal with Uchiha. Don't let Uchiha's questions be left for my next term. Lai also said solemnly. Uchiha's question is like a pinch in the throat of every leader of Konoha. The second-generation Hokage Senjuma used the technique of trade-offs to control Uchiha well. Under the leadership of the 3 generations, Uchiha and Konoha gradually had a gap, especially after the Nine Tails Rebellion. The entire Konoha had an opinion about Uchiha. Well, I see. I will let Uchiha completely integrate into Konoha and no longer let it become a hidden danger. Obito, and then looked at Konoha, who was in the midst of a devastated construction project with Jiraiya, and muttered. Are you all right, Jiraiya? Does my existence really not bring disaster to the village? Quote. Once Obito becomes the Uchiha patriarch, then his existence is a blatant confrontation with the ninja realm. Just a few videos can't explain anything. If other villages use the problem to play, they will rely on their fists to speak. After all, you are also a member of Konoha, and the village has an obligation to protect you. Lai also said domineeringly. Obito's heart was touched, and at this moment, the sense of belonging to Konoha was completely returned. As night fell, the Uchiha clan was silent. Black shadows streaked through the sky, sweeping towards the shrine of the Uchiha family. 3 days have passed since the day when the 4th generation of Jiraiya succeeded him, and in the past few days, many incidents have occurred in the Uchiha family. The death of Patriarch Fuyu, the mysterious disappearance of the second elder, the murderer of the slaughtering family will succeed the patriarch. One thing after another is like a haze that shrouds the Uchiha family in it. Grand Elder Uchiha convened this clan meeting to discuss where Uchiha should go next. All Uchiha members participating in the assembly must be the elites of the clan who have opened the blood chakra eye. Inside the Uchiha shrine, the 4-year-old Itachi sat in the position where Fugaku was sitting, his eyes thoughtful, and his eyes showed maturity that did not fit his age. Next to him sat several elders of Uchiha, except for the second elder Uchiha Fukusuke's position was vacant, the other elders were all present. Seeing that the elite of the clan was almost here, the great elder cleared his throat and said slowly. We have figured out the truth about the extermination of the Uchiha clan in the image. A stone stirred up 1,000 waves, and the eyes of everyone present focused on the great elder. Of all the things, the most disturbing and fearful thing is the night of extermination exposed in the image. Seeing that he had attracted everyone's attention, the great elder said with a heavy face. In the final analysis, it is the jealousy and betrayal of my Uchiha by the high-ranking people of Hokage and Konoha. They just use Uchiha as a tool or a weapon. Let us shed blood and work for them in wartime, but the cunning rabbit dies, and the lackey cooks. The high level of Konoha covets our eyes and fears our strength, so he let the young patriarch and Uchiha take the soil to brew the night of extermination. An unprecedented fear and anger slowly spread through the crowd. How is this possible? The audience turned their heads one after another, filled with doubtful voices. Why did the young patriarch slaughter the family? They didn't suspect that the Konoha high level would do something to them, but they didn't understand why the person who did it was the own son of Uchiha Patriarch Fugaku. The young patriarch of Uchiha. Regarding this, Itachi was probably brainwashed by the high level of Konoha, and I don't know their true face. The great elder sighed, and then changed his tone. But it doesn't matter, we decided to teach him personally, and we will never let the young patriarch be seduced by the Konoha high level again. Why would they do that? We are obviously all from Konoha, usually go out on missions together, kill enemies together, and protect each other. Why the hell is this? Someone asked in disbelief, his tone filled with sadness at being betrayed by his companions. There are many people on the field who have similar emotions, they grew up in Konoha, and it is unbelievable that the village will betray themselves. Great Elder, what should we do? After the sadness, someone asked helplessly. Right now we have only one choice. The great elder swept past everyone and said with a resolute gaze, that's resistance. But, someone questioned, they are the high-ranking people who hold most of the power in the village. How can we compete with the whole village? It really didn't work before, but don't forget, our old ancestor Uchiha appeared, as long as we escape the village and join him, he will become our backer. Therefore, I think that when the fourth generation is succeeded and the power in the village is handed over, we should defect from Konoha and join Uchiha to seek a glimmer of life. Grand Elder Uchiha's words caused quite a stir at the scene. Although they are both Uchiha, the younger generation present is too far away from the age of Uchiha, and they don't trust this ancestor from the bottom of their hearts. However, Patriarch Fuyu died fighting for the village, and now the impression of us in the village has changed greatly. Perhaps. Different voices sounded. These people are still holding on to a fluke mentality. Naive. The so-called precautions, the butcher knife of Konoha's high level does not know when it will fall. If you don't go now, it will be too late then. The great elder interrupted them with a frown. Everyone, time is limited. In order to prevent things from being revealed, you will be here tonight, and from tomorrow, we will plan to escape Konoha. Just as there was a lot of discussion in the shrine, a loud bang was heard, and the door of the shrine was blown open, and debris and dust were scattered. Everyone turned their heads in horror, and saw two figures walking in from outside the door. Obito and Water stopped walked in, and they listened to all the process outside the door. There was silence in the shrine, everyone held their breath, as if they were caught as thieves, and the atmosphere was as heavy as water. Stop the water. How did you come together with Uchiha Obito? The great elder frowned, and then turned his gaze to Obito on the side. I'm here to succeed the position of Patriarch Uchiha. Obito was expressionless, scanning the crowd. Joke, how can we let the future extermination murderer be our patriarch? The great elder showed a mocking smile. As soon as these words came out, the Uchiha people present echoed and shouted, and at the same time, everyone lit up a pair of blood-wheel eyes and stared at Obito. In this dimly lit shrine, Obito seemed to be targeted by dozens of red-eyed wolves at the same time. Well, I know you don't believe me, now I'm standing here, whether you want to single out or attack in groups, whatever you want. Obito shrugged, his eyes full of arrogance and contempt. The first step in taming a wolf is to terrorize it with violence. Otherwise, all concessions will be taken as cowardice. Obito's arrogant and contemptuous eyes instantly ignited the anger of Uchiha Tianzhou present. Arrogant. A few months ago, you were just a crane tail worthy of the test of Zhang Shinobi, and now you dare to make a big fuss here. Quote. The great elder's grandson Uchiha Yuhiko had a fierce anger in his eyes, and the eyes of the three-hook jade blood chakra appeared in his eyes. Although his strength is not as strong as the strongest master of the younger generation, he is also a top 5 existence in the younger generation. Just try it. Obito hooked his finger at him. Yuhiko Uchiha instantly walked in front of Obito, his eyes were full of jade, and he quickly captured Obito's movements, and at the same time slammed a punch into Obito's lower abdomen. Too slow. Obito shook his head, clutched his wrist sideways, and punched his lower abdomen with his right hand into a fist. Yuhiko Uchiha breathed and fell to the ground, leaning over like a shrimp ball. Obito kicked him into the air and mocked the rest of the people. No, Uchiha geniuses, that's it. Seeing that Obito easily defeated Yuhiko Uchiha, the remaining young generation of Uchiha roared and attacked him together. After a long while, there was a wail in the shrine, and Obito beat all the younger generation to the ground with his bare hands. He walked up the steps leisurely to the position of the patriarch, touched the young Itachi's head, and then turned to look down at everyone, saying, "If you want to leave Konoha, I will not stay, but after tonight, I will be the patriarch of Uchiha, and whoever defects to the village again when the time comes, don't blame me for enforcing the clan rules." According to Uchiha's family rules, defecting to the village is equivalent to defecting to Uchiha, and he will be stripped of his blood will I, stripped of Uchiha's surname, and then handed over to the village for disposal. The domineering spirit on his body shocked everyone for a while, and even the elders were afraid of his force, and remained silent on the sidelines. I am the apprentice of the 4th generation. As long as I become the patriarch of Uchiha, then I will become the bridge between Uchiha and Konoha. I promise, with me, Uchiha will not be violated. Also, don't forget your Madara ancestor. You just finished bombing Konoha a few days ago, and if I'm not mistaken, some areas of the clan land should also be affected. Obito paused, stared straight at everyone, and asked word by word. When I say this, who is in favor and who is against? With the earth's imposing momentum, Uchiha who was present dared to be angry and did not dare to speak. He also sat there happily, admiring the indignant expressions of everyone in the audience. Just when the situation reached a stalemate, Uchiha's childish voice sounded in the shrine, attracting everyone's attention. Brother 2, will I really slaughter the family in the future? No, the future has changed. Not only will Uchiha not destroy the clan, but he can also have more say in the upper echelons of Konoha, and even be able to produce Hokage. Obito changed his arrogant and domineering attitude and treated this top seedling of Uchiha with surprising patience and kindness. The weasel smiled and said, "Then I believe in you, I support you as the patriarch. Young patriarch, don't be deceived by this thief, he will bring Uchiha into a situation where everything is unrecoverable." Someone in the audience shouted. Mom said that Brother Obito is a good person. After Aunt Joshinai was removed from the 9 tails, she was saved by him with a resurrection charm when she was about to die, and I think the charm that can bring people back to life must be precious. Uchiha pondered, I am willing to use this precious thing on Aunt Joshinai. I don't think he will treat his own people badly. Besides, I also believe in Brother Shisui. Uchiha Shisui also continued, compared to Uchiha, I would rather believe in Obito because he is the heir of the Fugaku patriarch. In addition, I do not recommend defecting to Konoha. Without Konoha's protection, the power of the blood chakra I will only suffer more coveted. Quote. As the current first day of the Uchiha family, although Shisui is not old, his reputation in the family is no less than that of the elders. The words of the two made the young people present shake one after another. When did we Uchiha ever be afraid of others? Even if Uchiha refuses to accept us, other ninja villages will treat us as guests, and if it is not good, we will find a small country to establish a ninja village, which is not better than being killed in Konoha. Uchiha Yuhiko snorted unconvinced. Uchiha's arrogant and unruly qualities are vividly reflected in him. You don't know anything about power. Obito couldn't help but smile, and then walk towards the water stop. Let's give eye medicine to the geniuses. Otherwise, this group of frogs at the bottom of the well still thinks that they are invincible in the world. Shisui nodded. It's okay. As he spoke, powerful chakra emerged from Obito and Shisui, respectively. 2 skeleton of Susanoo, one black and one green, appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Geniuses, look good. The powerful aura shocked all the pretentious young people present. This is Susano. Quote. Several elders can't sit still. This kind of power recorded in the family stele is something they can't get in their lifetimes. Now I see it in two young juniors. Is this the talent gap? Obito saw that the effect was almost the same, so he beckoned the water to put away Susano. After all, he had only recently recovered, and it was not advisable to overuse his pupil power. Stop the water. When did you open the kaleidoscope? The great elder couldn't help but ask. Patriarch Fugaku is the person I respect the most. After he died, I was overly sad, so I opened the kaleidoscope blood wheel eye, and since then I have clearly realized the strength gap between me and Obito. My current kaleidoscope can open to the second form at most, and Obito can open to the full body form. Uchiha Shuishui did not pay attention to the great elder, but said towards the younger generation who was speaking below. A kaleidoscope of complete body form. It was you who fought against Uchiha that day. The great elder asked in disbelief. After the battle began that day, Uchiha was ordered by Danzo to protect civilians and not be allowed to approach the battlefield, so he only saw the battle of the two Susano figures in the sky from a distance. Later, the three generations blocked the news, so he always thought that it was a sage of the same period as Uchiha. Unexpectedly, it was this belt soil that was not much larger than the water. Obito didn't bother to pay attention to this old man with a funny head, and said lightly. Tomorrow Konoha's high level will hold a meeting. I will represent Uchiha to participate in this meeting. What demands you have will tell Shisui, and then I will try my best to fight for your interests. I still say that, if you want to leave, take advantage of tonight. Tomorrow morning, whoever dares to defect to the village, I will personally hunt down and kill. The murderous aura on Obito's body made everyone present shudder. How could this be like a teenager? It is clearly a demon who crawled out of hell. Let's disperse. Obito beckoned and sent away this group of arrogant people who sat in the well and watched the sky. Jade, are you really going to let them leave Konoha? If the village knows that a large number of clansmen have defected, I am afraid that you, the patriarch, will also be implicated. Concern was written on Shuishui's face. Of course not. Once they defect to Konoha, they will no longer belong to Uchiha. I will give their list to Danzo. I believe he will be interested in this group of people. Obito thought of the childish thoughts of the group of elders, and an icy smile appeared on his face. Shuishui didn't expect Obito to have such a cruel side, which was a little difficult for him to accept for a while. For him, betraying the clan and betraying the village are almost the same nature. I gave them a choice, the path was chosen by themselves, and they couldn't blame others, and when they really defected to Uchiha, and then turned back and aimed the butcher knife at Konoha, then I would kill them without hesitation. So simply take advantage of the present and borrow Tuan Zhang's hand to clean up the portal. Obito saw the concern to stop the water and patiently explained. If the stubborn forces of Uchiha are not eliminated, they will only be passed on from generation to poison their children and grandchildren, and I can protect Uchiha for a while. It is impossible to protect them for a lifetime. Only by completely changing the concept within the clan can Uchiha and Konoha die together. I see, Jade. Feeling ashamed of his strange view of Obito, Shisui asked, so what should I do next? Quote. Shangwai Ane, the clan first subdues the weak group, and then defeats the diehards. Those wall grasses will naturally fall to us. As for the outside of the clan, I want to get rid of the one in Konoha's upper echelons who threatens Uchiha the most, and then turn it into pieces and completely integrate Uchiha into Konoha. Obito told all the plans in his heart to stop the water. Learn the Senju clan to abandon the surname. Shuishui asked puzzled. It doesn't have to be so thorough. The Hyuga clan doesn't keep the surname as well, and the inheritance is as good, but the Uchiha clan can no longer be confined to this small clan land. Obito said. Uchiha nodded, and the weasel on the side seemed to understand. Itachi, you should have opened the blood chakra eye. Obito suddenly asked towards Itachi. When he turned on Susano, he noticed that Itachi's eyes had a chakra unique to the blood chakra. Brother too, you can't be busy with anything. The ferret smiled, and his eyes showed 3 jade blood chakra eyes, and said, after my father died, I felt a cold chakra emerge from my mind, and then I fainted, and when I woke up, I found that my eyes were open. Gee, As soon as you open your eyes, you will have 3 hooks of jade. If you let those geniuses of Fengkai know, you are not ashamed to see the sky. The 4th generation of Hokage also sat in the chairmanship of Konoha's high-level conference room, looking at the representatives of the various large families below with a serious face. He knocked on the table, breaking the silence, and said, "Everyone, we are gathered here today to discuss a very important issue, rebuilding Konoha and reclassifying the positions of the major families in the village." The representatives of the major families all nodded. In fact, this kind of big thing, they have already passed the gas in private, and now it is just put on the table to make a publicity. Shimura Danzo stood up and said, "Then, now it's up to me to announce the village's arrangements for the major families and the replanning of the clan land." He took out Konoha's map and kept gesturing on it, distributing it from the center of the village to the periphery, and distributing it to the large families in Konoha one by one. Sarutobi family, Shimura family, Yamanaka family, Nara family, Akamichi family, Oil Girl family, Inazuka family. These families occupy the heart of the village and control the most oily industries. In view of the powerful blood chakra eye of the Uchiha family, the village intends to give the police part to Uchiha, and at the same time move Uchiha's clan land around the village to assist the Hyuga family in guarding the safety of the village. Tuan Zhang arranged the positions of all the families, and the patriarchs present nodded one after another, all expressing satisfaction. "Wait." A voice came from the back of the conference table. "The Uchiha family likes to be lively and doesn't like to stay in a remote area. Please ask Elder Tuanzo to carve out another land." Obito leaned lazily on the back of the table and chair, and looked directly at Tuan Zhang. This group of people had clearly passed the chi in advance, but no one informed Uchiha in advance, which was clearly isolating Uchiha. This is Uchiha's new patriarch, Uchiha Obito. Shidame also introduced Obito's identity to the patriarchs present, and all the patriarchs looked towards Obito's position with amazement. With soil, the distribution of the village is also a synthesis of collective interests, and the right of the police department to enjoy law and order in the village can allow Uchiha to gain fame and respectable status, which is also compensation given by us. Tuan Zhang seemed to have thought of the reason for a long time, and said without hurry. The other patriarchs also looked at their noses, looking at their hearts, looking like they didn't care about themselves. "Well, since the conditions of the Uchiha family are so rich, then ask the Shimura family to make a match with Uchiha." Obito retorted. The Shimura family controls Konoha's most prosperous commercial street, where the most popular Rising Sun Tower is located, and you can earn a lot of money every year by collecting land rent. Shimura Danzo naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to give up such a prime lot, and said spicy and said. "Since Patriarch Uchiha has an opinion, then let's vote. Raise your hand if you agree with the current distribution plan." Sure enough, most of the family representatives present raised their hands in agreement. They who were bound by their interests naturally all sided with Tuan Zhang. The minority obeys the majority. Tuan Zhang looked at Obito playfully, saying that he couldn't do anything about it. Alas, that being said, if you put the people of the village in the corner of the edge of the village, I am afraid that there will be an accident at any time. Obito looked at the old silver coins on the field, and a crimson-tailed beast chakra appeared on his body. The patriarchs present changed their faces one after another, and they all exchanged their heads and ears. "This is the breath of the 9 tails. Isn't the 9 tails lost? How could it be on Uchiha Obito's body?" Quote. "Then I can only ask Patriarch Uchiha to step down from the post of Patriarch, and the village will send people to focus on protection." Tuanzo quickly retorted. Obsessed with power schemes for decades, how could he be intimidated by a few threatening words from Obito? He quickly countered and said that as long as he took Uchiha off his horse, he could support a puppet patriarch in Uchiha, that is, 2 birds with 1 stone. Can Elder Danzo still bypass Hokage-sama and directly appoint Uchiha's patriarch? Obito for tat, not giving an inch, but his eyes were looking at Zilai. Zilai also looked at his eyes, and immediately understood. Obito stopped Uchiha's attack in the 9 Tails Calamity. He has great merit to the village, and in terms of strength, he is also the premier existence in the village, and no one is more suitable than him to be the patriarch of Uchiha. Zilai's heart was also a little depressed. He was born a commoner, and the distribution of clan land naturally would not infringe on his interests, but Tuanzang bypassed him and negotiated the distribution with the patriarchs of various families, clearly wanting to empty him. Konoha's second major advisor, Konoha's dormitory Kaharu, said with a smile, "As the leader of the clan, it is inevitable that you will have to go out of the village to carry out tasks in the future, and as a human pillar force, you are indeed no longer suitable to be the patriarch of Uchiha." As soon as these words came out, all the patriarchs bowed their heads in agreement. Fart, the village now lacks combat power, and Obito is such a young and powerful person who does not go on a mission. Do you let this old woman go? Tsunade said coldly. Having overcome her fear of blood, she is now in charge of Konoha's medical department, and as a member of the Senju clan, she has a great deal of power. Tsunade, don't be too arrogant. Xiao Chun was full of anger. Ozuna's words are not rough. Advisor, you have been in the village all year round. I don't know how the ninja world is turbulent today. I am very relieved to have Obito sitting in Uchiha. Jiraiya also ignored Kaharu's emotions and still chose to side with Obito. In that case, please ask Naruto-sama to allocate the clan land. Tuanzang sneered and sat down in his seat. In terms of managing the village and weighing the pros and cons, Zilai is still a chick in his eyes. Jiraiya looked at the clear Konoha assigned on the map, and suddenly made a difficulty. No matter where Uchiha was placed, the interests of the family would be damaged. I don't ask much, the Shimura family gives up half of the territory, and I Uchiha exchange it with you for double the area. How about it, Elder Tuanzang, you earned. Obito said cynically. Anyway, this morning, Uzebos 2 and 5 have already been counted, and by then there will definitely be a large piece of clan land. It is better to give them the interests that are willing to stay and follow their own interests, in exchange for their dead heart. Well, that's good, win-win. Jiraiya's eyes lit up. Tuanzang's face was gloomy, and he made a look at 8-Fei Raihui, the patriarch of the 8-Fei family. The business of the two families cooperates with each other, and Sarutobi Riki naturally will not see Uchiha Cross-Fork kick in. 8-Flying Raihui said. I'm afraid this move is inappropriate. Migrating the land is a big thing. It involves the whole body, and it can't be simply measured by area. Zilai also looked at the old 8-Flying Sun, and couldn't help frowning. The 8-Flying Sun chopping family usually takes care of him. As the saying goes, eating people's mouths is soft, and taking people's hands is short. Now it is really difficult to directly refute Raihui's words. Well, since the Sarutobi family is considerate of the Shimura family, then on behalf of the Uzumaki family, I will double the rent of the Sarutobi family commercial street and use it to compensate the Uchiha patriarch. Uzumaki Jushinai, who was sitting in the corner, said abruptly. As the only fruit of the Konoha Uzumaki family, the successor of the original Hokage's wife Uzumaki Mito, Kushina not only took over the tailed beast, but also took over all the inheritance of the Uzumaki family. When Konoha and the country of Uzumaki were married, Uzumaki Mito married into Konoha with a huge dowry, and under the snowball for many years, 1/3 of Konoha's lot belonged to the Uzumaki family. This included the lot controlled by the 8-Fei family, and the other patriarchs present were silent when they heard the chartered mother's words. Although it involves the whole body, everything is fair and just, and the Shimura family should also think about the overall situation. 8-Flying Raihui hurriedly smiled and made up for it. Today, if he causes the interests of the Sarutobi family to be damaged for the benefit of the Shimura clan, he will be considered the patriarch of the end. Well, that's pretty much it. Jushinai hummed, and then looked at Obito diagonally opposite, looking like, everything has me. It's nice to have parental support. Obito was greatly moved. So, Elder Tuanzang, what else do you have to say? Obito asked with a smile. Then Uchiha's clan land is chosen in this area. Obito Tumadanzo looked stunned, and smiled and drew a circle on the territory belonging to the Shimura clan, looking like he was inching forward. It is the residential area in Konoha, which is closest to the Hokage building, connecting the ninja school and Konoha hospital, and the value is self-evident. You want a place here? Are you kidding me? Danzo's eyes widened, he stood up angrily, and shouted. Delusional, do you know how important this position is to Konoha? How is it possible to give this place to Uchiha? Obito said in a cheerful voice. This is the closest thing to the ninja school and the Naruto building. It can keep Uchiha's children under the influence of the will of fire, and Uchiha can also be responsible for the security of the surroundings. Kill two birds with one stone. HMPH, delusional. You just want to use the territory here to satisfy Uchiha's vanity and ambition. Tuanzo looked at Obito's eyes as if he was looking at the madness of losing his heart, and said in a loud voice, Uchiha doesn't deserve to own the lot here. Quote. Not worthy. Why not deserve? Obito seemed to be moving as well, and asked, when the Fugaku patriarch died fighting for the village, where were your Shimura regiments hiding? We deserve it more than anyone. Just because Uchiha is divided internally, and there is already a tendency to betray the village. Tuan Zhang saw that Obito began to invite merit again, so he simply threw out a killer weapon, looked at the unknown people, and spoke. Uchiha is full of suspicion and hatred within him, and before Uchiha Obito takes office, they are afraid of this murderer who will slaughter Uchiha in the future. Who doesn't know that Uchiha Obito did not hesitate to slaughter the entire Uchiha family in order to obtain the Sharingan? For the sake of survival and selfishness, Uchiha also chose to betray the village and his companions before you took office. In short, Uchiha is an unfamiliar white-eyed wolf. Quote. Fart. Obito scolded with a scowl on his face, Uchiha will not split, let alone betray the village. Oh, really? Tuan Zhang looked mocking and asked rhetorically, can Patriarch Uchiha explain why the Uchiha family attacked the guards of the village last night and led a large number of clansmen to defect? What? Uchiha defected to the village? Tuan Zhang's words shocked everyone present. Guys, last night, a large number of Uchiha clansmen defected from the village in the middle of the night and were captured on the spot by our root organization. Tuan Zhang scanned everyone and announced loudly. Those people you are talking about are definitely not Uchiha's people. At this moment, Obito also looked incredulous, and said. It is impossible for the Uchiha tribe to turn their backs on their beliefs, violate the rules of the clan, and even less become scum who betrays the village. Tuanzo mocked disdainfully, doesn't Patriarch Uchiha know that many of them are the elites of your family? For example, several elders of Uchiha and Tianzhou of Uchiha are all listed. No way, you're lying. How could the elders of Uchiha defect? Obito roared hysterically. Oh yes. Tuan Zhang sneered, and then shouted outside the door, bring it. With his order, several of Uchiha's elders were all tied up and escorted into the conference room, and they all lowered their heads in ashes, as if they had been tortured. How is this possible? Obito looked at the defecting elder with a panicked look on his face, and stammered and asked, what's going on? Quote. The facts are right in front of you. Tuanzo said, there has been a split within Uchiha, and some of the clansmen have completely sided with Uchiha. They have already agreed with Madara and intend to go to Uchiha, which is an unforgivable thing. Quote. Obito's pupils trembled when he heard this, and he seemed to be extremely confused. Seeing Obito's appearance, Tuan Zhang felt that defeat turned into victory, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but outline a smile. That's what I want. He recalled the many images he had seen using Uchiha Fugaku's kaleidoscopic blood chakra eyes. One of them is Obito's frustrated look. The future is being fulfilled. It's a pity that his pupil strength is not enough, and many pictures can only see fragments. Well, although the Uchiha family is divided, it is an indisputable fact that the Fugaku patriarch died fighting for the village. Just assign the South Street area of the Shimura clan to Uchiha in exchange. Jiraiya looked at Obito's frustrated expression, and could only fight for him to win the relatively less prosperous part of the other half of the Shimura clan first. He didn't understand how there was such a big mistake today. How could there be such a big mistake today? Well, all right. Those traitors who opened the eyes of the blood wheel are at the disposal of the village, but those innocent old and weak women and children are left to Uchiha for disposal. Obito seemed to resign himself to his fate, and opened his mouth to intercede. After all, they also just obeyed the orders of the superiors. Then it was so decided, these masterminds will be handed over to the root organization to dispose of, and other ordinary Uchiha people will be brought back to the clan by Obito to dispose of themselves. Zerai also rubbed his eyes. His heart was so tired of being a Hokage. He quickly announced the rest of the things, and announced the dismissal of the meeting. Obito could only follow the flow of people, and walked out of the conference room with a lost soul, as if he was still immersed in the blow. Except for Tsunade, Kushina and the others who comforted him, the other Konoha high-ranking people all hugged Danzo and left. After everyone left, a smile appeared on Obito's gloomy face, and he muttered in a low voice. Stop the water. What a good helper for me. Quote. If fighting for Uchiha's interests is the second step, then erecting a foreign enemy that makes the whole clan hate is the third step of the Obito plan. At this point, there is no more suitable candidate than Tuanzo. Uchiha Clan Land. Patriarch, this is the list of Fuyu Patriarch's cronies. I have already passed with them, and they are all willing to believe in the choice of Fuyu Patriarch. Shisui handed a list to Obito, who had just returned from the Hokage building. Obito glanced at it a little and said, hard work, stop the water, hold a clan meeting now, I want to announce the results of this high-level discussion. Quote. After a long while, the Uchiha clan gathered in the courtyard of the house of the former patriarch Fugaku, and since most of the clansmen were still in Konoha's prison, it could barely accommodate it. They were all eagerly waiting for Obito's speech. Guys, I have important news for you. When he had almost arrived, he announced loudly. After consultation and negotiation between me and the high-level management, our Uchiha family can move to the residential area south of Center Street. Nani? It's one of the busiest parts of the village, can we really move there? The Uchiha people present looked at each other, obviously a little questioning the authenticity of this news. Compared with the Central Street, the ethnic land here is like a slum, and they suddenly move from the slum to the rich area, which makes everyone feel like a dream. Of course, this is the result of a joint resolution of a number of high-level officials. Obito swore a promise. Yo Keita. Hearing Obito's assurance, everyone began to cheer. It's incredible, it's like a dream. But isn't that where the Shimura clan controls? Will they willingly let it out? There were also skeptical voices in the crowd. This is what Patriarch Fugaku bought with his life to defend the village. And you deserve it. Obito turned his head and said coldly. Originally, Naruto-sama fully recognized us, gave us the respect and trust we deserved, and planned to give the entire Central Street to the Uchiha clan. But last night, several clan elders led unknown clansmen to defect to the village, and all of them were arrested on the spot by Shimura Danzo, and the high-ranking people doubted our loyalty, so we only got half of the area of Central Street. As soon as these words came out, the public was in an uproar, and the high atmosphere instantly became depressed and dull, diluting the joy of moving to a new home. Obito wanted this effect, and soothed. Don't worry, under my pleas, Naruto-sama finally agreed to leave ordinary clansmen at my disposal, which is already the greatest mercy to us. Thank you Shadaime-sama. Thank you, Patriarch. Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and shouted with gratitude. The death penalty is spared, the living crime is inevitable, they lose the opportunity to move to Central Avenue, and they will also be sent to the outermost wasteland in the northwest of the village. Obito pressed the cheering voice and said slowly. That wasteland is even more remote than here. Many clansmen have been to that wasteland, a remote place famous in Konoha. Transportation, medical care, education, everything is inferior. The road is chosen by yourself, you can't complain about others, compared to their stupidity, you have seized the opportunity. Obito shrugged. The Uchiha people present shouted for luck, and some of them almost defected last night. Although the location of the new clan is superior, it also has more responsibilities. You must maintain good relations with other families, and remember that Uchiha and Konoha are one, both prosperous and detrimental. Take the soil and continue to mobilize. It will definitely be done. Everyone assured with confidence. Obito looked at the enthusiastic clansman in front of him, whose eyes were full of hope and expectation, and finally smiled on his face. In fact, most of the clansmen in Uchiha have not opened the blood wheel eye. They are just ordinary people, and what they want is nothing more than a peaceful and prosperous life. He stood on the stage and replied. For Konoha, for Uchiha. For Konoha, for Uchiha. Quote. At this moment, Uchiha's atmosphere reached its peak. Moving the clan land was not a simple matter, and the whole Uchiha was busy all morning, and only then, led by Obito, he left the original clan land with joy and headed for the new place. They were congratulated and envied by other clans along the way, and there were also some jealous and dissatisfied eyes. It is a spacious, bright, well-equipped, safe and comfortable residential area. Each family has its own independent yard and house, that is, take it for rent, can live a rich life. Obito let Shisui allocate the house according to the list of cronies, and the most central location is left to the Uchiha Makoto family. This is Fuyu's life in exchange, the pension he deserves, and in the future, the expenses of their family will be borne by the clan. He said towards the water. Then he stood in the middle of the residential area, watching the clansmen settle down, his face full of joy, and his emotions could not help but be infected. At this moment, he has won the most sincere trust and admiration of some clansmen, and with such a patriarch who seeks benefits for them, who is willing to defect. Divide some of them first, so that they will be more united and harmonious, gradually establish deep bonds with other families, and then slowly influence and change those clansmen who are stubborn. Obito pondered. At this time, a group of clansmen, led by Shisui, directly knelt on one knee and said with an expression of gratitude and admiration. Patriarch. Thank you for securing such a great place for us and allowing us to enjoy life like never before. We are willing to follow you to the death. Quote. Get up. Obito smiled and said, in his place, just seek his government. It was your contribution to the village that earned Naruto-sama's support and trust in Uchiha. Quote. Maybe in the near future, when the entire village trusts and respects itself, it will be when his Hokage's dream will come true. Obito heart rode. Relying only on strength will only end up with everyone betraying, just like Uchiha. Just then, he felt a chill. He turned his head and saw a figure standing in the distance. Shimura Danzo and his people. The clansmen of the Shimura clan, they looked at the Obito and Uchiha families with cold and hateful eyes. The territory that originally belonged to them was robbed by the Uchiha clan, how could the Shimura clan not hold a grudge? As a powerful figure who has controlled Konoha for many years, Danzo has caused great psychological pressure on the ordinary people of Uchiha. Will Master Tuanzang wait for an opportunity to take revenge? Shui asked worriedly. Afraid of what? When protecting the village, Uchiha has a share, but when he divides the cake, Uchiha has no share. Obito snorted coldly. Now he is the patriarch of Uchiha, whoever dares to move Uchiha must ask him first. Hokage office. Obito stood in front of Jiraiya and asked. Shadaime, are you looking for me? Zerai also smiled and said, the big toad immortal of Miaomu Mountain wants to see you. Obito said with a strange face, is that the old toad who fooled you all over the world looking for the son of prophecy? Zerai also said in a solemn tone, don't be so presumptuous to the big toad immortal for a while. Obito shrugged. Okay. Quote. Jiraiya summoned the toad, and then appeared on Mount Myoku with Obito. Miaomu Mountain is a veritable paradise with beautiful scenery and flowers. The sound of insects chirping in the dense bushes, and the surrounding atmosphere is quiet and peaceful. On the hillside stand several stone statues of frogs, and it is said that those are people who have been petrified by the fairy chakra of Myoki Mountain. Under the leadership of Jiraiya, Obito met the legendary Big Toad Immortal. Fukasaku Immortal and Shima Immortal served by Toad Pill's side, and seemed to have known about the arrival of the two for a long time. Great Toad Immortal, brought by the son of prophecy. Jirai, who has always been bohemian, also said respectfully. Who is coming? Toad Maru didn't seem to hear Jiraiya's voice and asked himself. Children of prophecy. The Fukasaku Immortal repeated loudly, and then whispered, it's true, I pretend to be stupid every time. Toad Orochimaru opened his eyes, glanced at Obito, and said. The fate of the ninja world depends on you alone. Children of prophecy, I dreamed of a picture of you. Obito also looked at the huge orange toad in front of him, with a huge doctor's hat on its head and a string of Buddha beads around its neck, and the word Buddha bead in the middle was the size of a human head. What a strong strength. He was secretly surprised. The old dragon bell toad in front of him seemed to be about to die, but there was a huge amount of energy hidden in his body, but it was not the breath of chakra. I guess it's the fairy chakra. Obito pondered. Seeing that Obito was silent, Toad Pill described the contents of the scroll to everyone with his own care. The weaver used the undead as the yarn and the fire of war as the color, and woven a wedding dress embroidered with a black phoenix, and the black phoenix was nirvana under the reflection of the red moon, and the weaver peeked into the future through the firelight, committed suicide by cutting his abdomen, and turned into a flaming maple leaf. Big Toad Immortal, what is this? Will there be wars in the future? Jiraiya touched the back of his head, pondering the content of the prophecy. The children of prophecy will understand. Toad Pill said with a smile. Old Toad, is the future set in stone? Obito thought thoughtfully, and he roughly figured out that the objects in the prophecy represented people. Aren't you supposed to know best? Toad Orochimaru looked at Obito as if he knew everything. Riddle baby is so fooled. Obito didn't get an answer, and was asked rhetorically, and naturally his mood was not much better, and he asked casually. Since you regard me as a savior, you should always give me some help, right? Meowmoo Mountain, as long as you fancy something, take it as you like. Toad Pill squinted his eyes and said with a broad smile. Is there that kind of resurrection charm? Give me a few more. Obito asked unceremoniously. The method of making the resurrection charm has been lost, and the only one left in Meowmoo Mountain has been used up by Yuya. Although there are no resurrection charms, there is one artifact that you should be interested in. Toad Pill ordered the two large toads to carry a black scepter. This scepter is about 2 meters long, with a spherical decoration at each end, one red of the sun and the other white of the moon, with a spiral-like pattern on the surface, which looks mysterious and noble. This is 6 tin rods. Obito's pupils shrank and lost his voice. In his previous life, he had used Dao-seeking jade to conjure up 6 tin staffs, but that 6 tin staff only had its heart shape, and at most it could change its form at will. It is rumored that the real 6-way tin staff has supernatural abilities, can call the wind and rain, and can do anything. Is it the one in front of you? Zilai also picked up the 6 tin sticks and weighed them. His old face was red, and after he swung it out, he felt the strength fluttering lightly. What a strange weapon. Toad Pill smiled and said, Little Zilaya, this is the artifact of Yuya, only firm belief can exert true power. Thank you Toad Immortal for the treasure. Obito heard this, knowing that Toad Pill was explaining to himself, bowed deeply. Children of prophecy, do you still have any doubts? Toad Pill pulled his eyelids, as if he was about to fall into a deep sleep again. What are the conditions for Black Phoenix Nirvana? Obito remembered the content of the prophecy and asked. Time. Toad Pill said lazily. Obito frowned. You might as well be clearer. Toad Pill barely raised his eyelids and slowly explained. Fate will give you its own gift, all you need is to wait for the gift of fate. The gift of fate. Is it that mysterious screen? Every time the screen exposes the sins he did in his previous life, he will improve his strength, and he thinks. So I don't have to do anything, I just have to wait for gifts. Toad Pill replied, just follow your nature. Obito rolled his eyes, and complained in his heart. Oh, it seems to have been said and it seems not to be said. He finally asked. What would have happened if the Weaver had not committed suicide by Caesarean section? All things are silent, only the Black Phoenix and the goddess exist alone. The future trajectory of the ninja world is all about this. Toad Pill finished his last sentence and fell into a deep sleep. Obito thoughtfully. Is it alone with the goddess? Meaning everyone will die. The sky was cloudy, thunder rumbled, lightning sometimes cut through the darkness, and rain fell from the sky like beads with broken threads, hitting the ground with a loud noise. Yuyin Village, the chief's residence. On the soaked ground, there was a dry rain-hidden guard. What about Nagato? Uchiha looked at Yahiko who was lying on the ground and asked coldly. I don't know. Yahiko spat blood in his mouth and fell to the cold floor in despair. This blind man in front of him, ridiculously powerful, defeated everyone with just one body technique. This made Yahiko feel deeply frustrated. The last time he felt this way was Hanzo the pepperfish. Madara frowned, grabbed Yahiko's head with one hand, and impatiently used the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan, the heart-turning technique, to immerse Yahiko's brain and directly check the memory in Yahiko's brain. After searching for a while, I finally saw the scene of a monk dressed in Haori taking Nagato away. I saw that the monk's figure was like electricity, and he kicked the guard guarding Nagato out with 3 strokes and 5 divisions, and then stunned Nagato with a palm knife. Such a powerful force, there is actually such a number one person in this world. The so-called layman looks at the liveliness, the insider watches the doorway, and in terms of skills alone, This monk is estimated to be no less than himself. Judging by his dress, he should not belong to the 5 major villages. When will the Lang ninja monks also be able to produce such a number 1 figure? Madara put away his hand and said coldly. No matter who it is, dare to rob my reincarnation eye, dig the ground 3 feet, I will find him out. The big snake pill on the side said sadly. Madara-sama, this kid is a disciple of the 4th generation of Konoha. If not eliminated, Yuyin village is estimated to join forces with Konoha. A Hokage I don't put in my eyes yet. This kid has an organization called Shao. The strength has become a climate, and it is useful for me to keep it. Madara saw a lot of pictures in Yahiko's mind, and the most was about the Shao organization. He turned his head towards Orochimaru and ordered, first of all, you must first mix the water and collect the corpses of the major villages. I will use your filthy soil reincarnation to add some color to the ninja world. Today's ninja world is too calm, which is not conducive to me collecting tailed beasts. On a small peak of Mount Myoku. The flourishing foliage here weaves into a natural barrier, shielding from the hustle and bustle of the outside world, and the flowers compete for a beautiful fragrance. Jiraiya and Obito lay quietly on the grass and chatted. Zelie also looked up at the sky and said, Obito, do you really not consider practicing immortal arts? Practicing immortal arts is not an overnight thing. I am now lacking in skills. Obito tactfully refused. Seeing this, Zelie also did not force it, and said in a solemn tone, there is one thing I want to ask your opinion. Quote. Obito is unknown. Tuanzo is known as the Dark Shadow, and he can't handle the things on the table for Hokage. But now, his ambition is getting bigger and bigger, so big that he wants to elevate me. Zelie also said slowly. You want to remove him. Obito understood Jiraiya's intentions. Well, after all, he is the elder of the village, has made contributions to the village, the forces in the village are intertwined, and there are interests in several large families. If he does something to him for no reason, it is not conducive to the unity of the village. Jiraiya sighed. Obito pondered carefully for a while, and said. Maybe you can start with the big snake pill. What does this have to do with the great snake pill? Jiraiya was puzzled. Obito slowly explained. The big snake pill secretly carried out experiments on the human body in the village, and Shimura Danzo cooperated with him. You can use this as an entry point to investigate the den of the big snake pill, and then follow the vine to point to the Danzo. Is this news reliable? Where did you get the intelligence? Quote. It is impossible for the 3rd generation to have no information on this, just turn a blind eye. You can go to him to get clues, and the other group may be pregnant with the cells of the original Hokage. Zelie was also shocked and said, really? But transplanting cells is extremely risky, and Tuan Zhang really dares. Quote. Having the cells of the original Hokage means that you can use Mudun to control the tailed beast. I didn't expect Tuanzo to risk his body. He wondered, but, for no reason, how can we check his body? Obito pondered. There is a child named Yamato in the Root organization, he is a survivor of the Great Snake Pill experiment, and he is pregnant. Let's go to the Root organization to ask for someone, and then use him as a breakthrough. Yo West. Obito, you really helped me a lot. Jiraiya was overjoyed and looked at Obito with admiration. After the matter is completed, all the sections of Center Street that belong to the Shimura clan belong to Uchiha. Obito put forward conditions in a timely manner. No problem. Jiraiya readily agreed. The moonlight shone on the stream next to Konoha, and 2 teenagers from the Uchiha family were training by the stream. After Shisui showed Itachi the magic of Shuriken, Itachi practiced from the afternoon to this moment, his eyes were firm, and sweat dripped down his cheeks. Suddenly, the ferret was half kneeling, panting wearily. Itachi, you are too demanding of yourself, training should be gradual and persistent. Don't expect to do it overnight. Shisui came over, helped him to a large rock to rest, and then handed over the fish he had just grilled. The textbook says that fire is strictly forbidden at night, but if you do this, it shows that there must be something hidden behind it. The ferret took the fish, and a studious look flashed in his eyes. Shisui smiled and said, you're just too good, and it feels good to eat with someone who can relax yourself, doesn't it? Why think so much? Just. As the 2 were happily eating grilled fish, the sound of weapons clashing nearby was heard. There is a situation. The water stop instantly extinguished the bonfire, and the ferret went straight to it. The territory of Konoha here is likely to be attacked by the enemy by his companions and must go to the rescue immediately. I saw a Konoha dark part fleeing in embarrassment, and when I saw the two people who stopped the water, it was like seeing a savior, but before he took 2 steps, his legs were weak, and he fell in front of the two. It's the dark part of Konoha. The water stopper and the weasel protected it behind him. After a while, the pursuers arrived. Looking at the other 3 of them also dressed in the dark part of Konoha, Shisui frowned and asked, why kill each other? He is an undercover enemy village, and we are also ordered to kill. The chasing soldier looked at the Uchiha clan clothes who stopped the water, and his face showed jealousy, and said, there is only one way to betray the village, we are executing the heavenly order for the order of the village. Hearing this, the weasel pulled the sleeve of the water and said, the traitor and the village, the weight gap between the two is too big, let's leave it alone. Shisui shook his head and said righteously to the 3, my ninja does not allow me to stand idly by. Stop the water, it's me. I have information and I want to hand it over to Naruto-sama. The dark part that fell to the ground cried out weakly. Captain Shadow. The pupils of the water stopped shrinking. Unexpectedly, the long disappeared Captain Shadow suddenly appeared, and was chased and killed as a traitor, which must be tricky. He made up his mind and taught Itachi. Ninjas are nameless beings who support peace in the dark, but the order maintained by violence with weapons is not peace at all. The ferret was infected by the water stop, and said resolutely, I am Uchiha Itachi, and I would like to fight side by side with the water stop. Quote. Do you dare to challenge the dark part? The other party looked at the height of the weasel that could barely exceed their waist, and laughed disdainfully. The next moment, the two sides drew their knives at each other. One of the cat-faced secretly lowered the knife and instantly threw several shurikens connected to steel wires, shooting towards the weasel. Persimmons should pick soft pinches, first solve weak targets, and then besiege powerful targets together. At the same time, 2 other dark forces also came towards the water stop, preventing him from supporting the weasel. Blood Chakra Eye. 3 hooked jades appeared in the weasel's pupils. The figure turns into a butterfly, shuttling through the flying shuriken, like 1,000 flowers. This is the power of the Blood Chakra Eye. He calmly threw his shuriken, changing the trajectory of the enemy's shuriken, and at the same time threw the short blade in his hand, hitting the center of a high-speed rotating shuriken, nailing it to the ground. At this time, several invisible steel wires shone with icy light in the moonlight. HMPH. Grab it. The cat's face sneered darkly. As long as she pulled hard, these steel wires would tighten, and then strangle this Uchiha imp. But the next moment, the steel wire in her hand not only did not bind the Uchiha imp as expected, but bound herself in place. 4. Why? She asked in disbelief. I saw it all. The line ninja you threw was slightly tampered with by me. The weasel stands on the hilt of the short blade and uses the gravity of his whole body to fix the shuriken that connects all the wires under his feet. Uchiha. The dark part of the cat's face shouted unwillingly. The other side. The water stop instantly divided into dozens of doppelgangers, surrounding the enemy. The first time the other party faced this kind of physical afterimage, he was immediately caught off guard. Stop Shui grabs a flaw and defeats the two separately. When he turned around, he saw that the weasel was also restraining the other party, and nodded gratifyingly, well done, weasel. Itachi nodded happily and asked, shall we arrest them all and go to Naruto-sama? No, arrest the patriarch first. Stop thinking about it. Uchiha clan land, Nanga Shrine. Captain Shadow, long time no see. Obito slowly walked towards the shadow, approaching him step by step. Jade. The shadow knelt on the ground, his face pale, and he seemed very weak. Obito's eyes flashed with a cold light, and his voice was low and mocking. It was you who exposed my information in the dark part during the 5 shadows talks, and the 3 generations who harmed almost crossed fire with several other shadows. He felt that something was wrong when he killed Kakato, but then rushed back to Konoha and didn't bother to investigate. It was Tuanzo who asked me to do this. Shadow's body trembled, sweat dripping from his forehead. So Shimura Danzo wants to kill you and kill you. There was a hint of suspicion in Obito's eyes. Just wanted to deal with Tuan Zhang during the day, and his handle was sent to the door at night. Shadow nodded and said, I sensed that Tuan Zhang wanted to kill me, so I ran over desperately. Shisui said, you have information to report to Hokage. Is it about Tuanzou? Kage hurriedly nodded, yes, tell me about the secret of the original Hokage. Obito calmly interrupted, don't worry about it, I'll say it again in front of Naruto-sama later. Shadow closed his mouth in amusement. Obito brought the three people of the Shadow and Root organization into the Shinwei space. Patriarch, I feel something is wrong. Shisui said hesitantly. If I were Danzo, Kage would definitely not be able to return to Konoha. Obito said lightly, but there is nothing to be afraid of, I can't fight the plan, I want to see what tricks Tuan Zhang has. You go back and rest first. I'm going to meet Shadaime. Quote. Hokage office. You said that Danzo revealed the news of Obito to the other 4 Kages. Zelie also looked at the Shadow kneeling on the ground, and asked with a gloomy face. Kage replied respectfully. Yes, Hokage-sama, Danzo also conducted human research experiments privately and transplanted the cells of the original Hokage-sama. Eating something inside and outside, I almost fell into the village. Zelie also obviously moved the liver fire, and immediately summoned the Dark Department, intending to go to the Root organization base to capture Tuan Zhang. Will there be fraud? Obito grabbed Jiraiya and glanced sideways at the Shadow kneeling on the ground. In the village, Tuan Zhang does not dare to mess around. Zelie pondered. Watergate found a member of the Root organization named in the afternoon, plus Ying's confession, which is enough to ask the guilt group. Obito said, in that case, let's go to Tuan Zhang's old nest together. Quote. Yi Gao is bold, it is Longtan Tiger's den, he also dares to break in. Root organization base. Jiraiya and Obito led dozens of members of the Dark Department to arrive here, except for some people who stayed in the periphery, the rest of the people and the 2 sneaked into it. A cold air rushed from the base. Surrounded by gray concrete walls, the walls were high, leading to the zenith, covered with cracks and dust, and only sporadic light bulbs glowed faintly in the corridors. Obito opened the blood chakra eye and scanned the circle, but did not find the slightest figure. Strange, it seems that people are empty. At the same time, in a dark pavilion at the bottom of the base, a secret passage was trimmed to the outside of Konoha. Here it comes. A haze flashed in Tuan Zhang's eyes, as if a black fog shrouded his heart, and the anger and hatred in his heart made him angry. I didn't expect to carry the darkness for many years, but in the end, I waited for Ji Lai's unloading to kill the donkey. Fortunately, he has already seen the future and made arrangements in advance. Gee, I didn't expect you to work for Konoha for so many years, but in the end you ended up like this, otherwise you wouldn't have contacted me. In the shadows, a mournful voice sounded. HMPH. What does little Konoha count? Tuan Zhang's eyes were cold and cruel. The future self will have the body of an immortal, coupled with the ability to maintain eternal youth, the achievement will only be higher than the legendary 6 Dao immortals. Later, I will make them feel pain. That kind of dead man, too, you raised it. Search for the location of Shimura Danzo. Jiraiya said towards the members of the Dark Division. Dozens of Dark Department members scattered, sneaked into the base, and searched. Have you noticed that something is wrong? We just wanted to do something to Tuanzang in the morning, and a clue will be sent to the door in the evening. Obito stayed where he was and asked towards Jiraiya. At this time, the shadow standing behind the 2 quietly changed his face, and the originally fearful eyes became arrogant and cunning, but it was well hidden in the dark. He grinned and directly stepped forward and grabbed the 2. Kage looked up to the sky and laughed. His voice was harsh and frenzied, a twisted and hideous smile appeared on his face, his eyes were full of madness and satisfaction, he seemed to see the scene where he was about to complete the task, so he felt the supreme pleasure and the liberation. That blowing up Shadaime and Uchiha Obito was the final task given to him by Danzo. Not good. In the face of the shadow suicide attack, when it was time to strike, Obito's eyes showed determination, and he directly sucked Jiraiya into the divine power space. Then, the white explosion light engulfed his figure. Multiply the detonator charm. Nearly 10 dirt reincarnated dead warriors surged out of the shadows, and countless detonation charms flew from them towards Obito. One by one, the detonation charms split from their bodies, and then joined the explosion. The explosion lasted for more than 10 minutes, and huge fireballs and smoke rose into the sky, shrouding everything around them in shadows. The ground was littered with wreckage and corpses, the surviving dark parts were also stumped and severed arms, and countless screams and cries resounded in the ears, and they were buried in the ruins of the Root Organization base. On the edge of Konoha, Danzo, cloaked, stood on a small hillside, looking at the mushroom cloud in the distance. Like a huge spark, the mushroom cloud rises from the ground and spreads continuously, devouring everything around it. Danzo felt the heat and vibration, the breath of death, filling his heart with joy. He looked up to the sky and laughed. My life has never been so painfully released. Ready. Pursue the ultimate in power. Zhe came out of the ground and said seductively. Let's go. I will be back. Danzo turned around and left Konoha. Looking at Tuan Zhang's back, it was as if he saw the Uchiha spot back then. That's it. So you can send a message to Master Tuanzang. Steal the position of the Hokage, Lord Tuanzo. Quote. The 10 Filthy Earth Reincarnation Root Organization dead warriors condensed out of thin air, and besieged the ruins and rubble where the soil was located. In order to complete the task assigned by Shimura Danzo, they gave their lives very early and practiced the forbidden art, the art of mutual multiplication and detonation charm all night long. In order to restrain the kaleidoscope blood chakra eye pupil technique with soil. Hey, are you going to be happy too soon? An icy voice sounded from behind the dead soldiers, and the figure with soil also appeared in the rear. At this moment, he stood on the rubble of ruins, his clothes were tattered, his hair was scattered, and his face was covered with dust, looking embarrassed. Obito looked around. As far as the eye could see, there was only a dead silence and destruction, and the dark people who came with him basically died in this big explosion, and the rest fell to the ground with broken limbs and legs. The Obito in front of him was like a hellish ghost, and the dead men of the Root Organization muttered in disbelief, isn't this dead? Quote. After paying the price of their lives, they didn't kill Uchiha Obito, and they couldn't accept it for a while. Danzo didn't tell you, will I be Izanagi? Obito looked at them with strange eyes, and said murderously. Or is he just trying to exchange your life for one of my eyes? At this moment, his right eye has turned dead white, without any radiance. It is our glory to die for Lord Tuanzang and execute the heavenly order for the village. The dead men had glorious smiles on their faces. Obito looked at this group of brainwashed dead men, took out his Shinwei blood wheel eye from the Shinwei space, and replaced the blood wheel eye given by Fugaku in the right eye hole. In that case, I will use you to expose the evil deeds of Tuanzang and destroy your glory with my own hands. The Black Susanoo appeared, and his huge body held a long knife like black jade, slamming all the dead into powder. Mu Dun. The art of silent killing. Quote. While the bodies of the dead were still condensing, Obito's arms suddenly turned into thick branches, quickly wrapping around the enemy's body like a python, focusing on blocking their hands and throats. They are all reincarnated bodies of filthy soil, and they cannot be killed by killing, and they can only be bound first. The dead struggled in horror, but could not shake off the hard and sharp wooden tentacles, and the air around them was filled with a fresh and pungent smell of trees. They tried to detonate themselves again, but they couldn't move. After doing this, Obito released the self coming in the Shinwei space. Danzo, you really dare to assassinate Hokage in the village. Seeing his innocent dead companion, his heart was filled with endless grief and anger, and he glanced at Obito and said gratefully. I didn't expect that Tuanzang actually used filthy soil to reincarnate to cultivate dead soldiers, but I underestimated him. Obito waved his hand and said, these dead soldiers are evidence that Tuanzang intends to assassinate you. It is estimated that he has already defected to the village, and after he goes back, he will gather the high level to liquidate him well. Quote. With such a big movement, the people in the village will gather in a moment. Quote. Jiraiya agreed with Obito's words. At this moment, there was thunder in the sky, and a crystal screen appeared in the sky. The familiar words resurfaced on the screen. Coming soon to play Act 7, Ninja Alliance's Art v Uchiha Obito. Discussion group open. Why is it at this time? End name you. Jiraiya frowned. He has found that every time the screen appears, Obito will become the public enemy of the ninja world, and he used to be only exposed as a masked man, and now he directly names him. Get used to it. Obito shrugged indifferently. Sure enough, the discussion group had already denounced him. I said it was Uchiha Obito. Judging by the name, is he going to single out our ninja alliance? Quote. I heard that Uchiha Obito has become the patriarch of the Konoha Uchiha family, and Konoha's move is an enemy of the entire ninja world. Konoha was attacked by the Nine Tails a few days ago. Most likely it was Uchiha who brought Togen. I suspect that Hokage has become his puppet. Indeed, I heard that the Hokage has changed. Most of them were secretly manipulated by Uchiha Obito. Quote. Conspiracy theories prevail in discussion groups. Zelie was speechless. This group of people, imagination is really okay. Obito blinked and said, according to logical reasoning, what they said is really reasonable. Quote. After all, he didn't do anything similar in his previous life. At this moment, a mechanical radio sound came into the ears of the two. Start playing. In the image. In the barren land, only a full moon glows pale in the sky, and the surrounding darkness is dark, no plants, no animals, only strange silence and an ugly monster on the ground, 10 tails. The one-eyed eye of the 10 tails suddenly opened, and a huge six-hooked jade reincarnation eye looked at the world, and his eyes were full of killing and fury. The 10 tails opened their blood basin and let out a deafening roar, and the terrifying roar carried endless killing intent and madness, as if it came from the underworld under the 9 ghosts. Discussion. Group. Lying Groove, what the hell is this? How is it more terrifying than the tailed beast in the village? What is this thing? I won't fight this monster in the future. This won't be something that Uchiha brought to Earth again. Can he do some personnel? Look, Uchiha Obito is standing on the head of the monster, and there seems to be a person next to him. Everyone. Lying Groove, it's really him. Quote. Jiraiya looked at the shouting and scolding in the sky, looked at Obito sympathetically, and asked, what is that monster? Obito replied succinctly, 10 tails. Quote. In the image. The body of the 10 tails is like a mountain. Every time he swings his tail or twists his body, he will bring a violent wave of chi, as if he can shake the heavens and the earth, making all living beings tremble. Uchiha took the earth and looked up at the pale full moon, and said, everything will go smoothly, everyone will enter the infinite moon reading, and this world will be destroyed. As he spoke, the 10 tails spewed out an oversized tailed beast jade from the large mouth of the blood basin, which was a purple-black light of destruction, with unparalleled destructive power, and quickly slammed into the distant mountains. In an instant, an earth-shattering explosion, the entire mountain was blown into pieces, flying in all directions, forming a doomsday scene. Discussion. Group. Groove. Is Uchiha Obito really going to conquer the ninja world with this monster? This blow can level my Yenian village. It's not Dangping Yenian village, the daimyo mansion of the land of earth is estimated to be almost gone. Where are you? Don't joke about the daimyo. Look, someone. A lot of people. Do you really want to fight this monster? In the video. Countless Ninja Alliance forces rushed here like a swarm, the entire wasteland was covered with people, and the team was orderly and waiting for the battle. Union Iruka. The first force has arrived. Iwane Kitu. The second force has arrived. Konoha. The third force has arrived. Shikamaru. The fourth force has arrived. Mifune led the samurai to the scene and shouted, the fifth force has arrived. Mute. Medical troops arrived. Yun Yinjiang. Sensing troops arrived. The ranks were lined up neatly, everyone looking resolute, armed with weapons, ready for the final decisive battle. Their momentum was huge, as if it were an unstoppable torrent. Seeing this huge ninja alliance, the discussion group also boiled. So fierce. Can the ninja world really come together like this? I see myself, I feel like my blood is boiling now. Everything that can be fought in Yenian village is here. Iwane is awesome. So many people, one person and one spit also drowned that Uchiha with soil. What is he fighting us with? Awesome, everyone. Unite and fight together. Quote. The vast alliance forces lifted the spirit of the entire ninja world, as if they were the ones standing on the battlefield. In the video. As soon as the Ninja Alliance army appeared, without saying a word, they directly started to do it, as if someone was commanding them at the same time. The art of the insect and evil singing tool. The Oil Lady clan stretched out their hands and released countless bugs from their bodies, and those bugs were so dense that they were eerie, forming a black ocean that swarmed towards the 10 tails. Mist Hidden Technique. Not to be outdone, the Mist Hidden Alliance exhaled a stream of white aura from their mouths, which quickly spread, shrouding the 10 tails in a thick fog, which was like a wall, obscuring the line of sight, making it impossible for the 10 tails to detect the movements of the coalition forces. Uchiha Obito disdained. If you want to block the perception of the 10 tails, it is too simple to think of the 10 tails. The 10 tails flicked their tails in disdain. The action seemed easy, but with amazing power, it rolled up the thick fog in the sky, forming a huge air flow, and violently rushed towards the coalition army. That thick fog is like a white flood, mercilessly counter-attacking the coalition army, covering the coalition army inside. The discussion group initiated an exclamation. Can such a large fog be extinguished at once? What a powerful force! It's so dangerous. How to fight if you lose your vision? If that monster comes again, won't the whole army be wiped out? With such a big fog, how can the coalition forces resist it? Just when everyone was terrified. In the image. Wind escape. The art of wind cutting. The Tamari of Cheyenne village stepped forward and led the Cheyenne crowd who were holding huge fans, and they raised the fans and waved them hard, which immediately caused a gust of wind. That wind is like a sharp blade, cutting the dense fog, solving the danger of the coalition army, and at the same time showing the strength and execution of Cheyenne village. After the dense fog cleared, a vast sea of people appeared in sight. There was not a trace of space in the battlefield, and everyone's eyes were firmly fixed on the behemoth monster in front of them, exuding an unshakable faith. At this moment, the army is invincible. Quote. It's on fire. I'm on fire. I can't wait until then. Let's join forces now to slaughter Uchiha with the soil. Quote. I heard that Konoha has already collected the 9 tails and the 3 tails, and in a few years, they will collect all the tailed beasts. Lord Lei Ying, take the brethren to rush again. Lord Tokage, let's rush again, the descendants of the future Iwane village. Yakura-sama, bring down Uchiha Obito, bring down Konoha, and recapture the 3 tails. It is time to delay. Naruto-sama, so do we. Konoha's shut up. Konoha shut up. Konoha once again stood on the cusp of the storm because of Uchiha Obito, which made the people of Konoha feel very aggrieved and aggrieved. In the video, Naruto Uzumaki, the leader of the coalition army, looked at Uchiha Obito confidently and said, "This is not a rabble, what you are seeing now is the art of the Ninja Alliance. This is the most powerful, strongest and invincible ninjutsu in the history of ninjas. Better than infinite moon reading, you wait." Uchiha looked at Naruto and shook his head. There is clear stupidity in your eyes. Even if you succeed in stopping me, there is still no point. Why don't you understand? This trick will fall apart after the war. Some of you will still repeat the same mistakes, and the war in the ninja world will not stop. The body of the 10 tails is like a moving mountain. It suddenly rushed towards the Alliance army. The speed is unimaginable, and it collided with the Ninja Alliance army in the blink of an eye. In an earth-shattering roar, its body slammed into the coalition army, like an elephant breaking into an ant colony, dancing and trampling wantonly, causing immeasurable casualties in a moment. Those ninjas who couldn't dodge were instantly crushed into meat mud by the 10 tails, and their flesh and blood flew everywhere, staining the entire battlefield red. The scene was filled with smoke, covering the sky, making people unable to see the direction, and the wailing sound of it pierced the eardrums, making people tremble. The tragedy of the scenes, the despair, the tears, shocking. The discussion group was shocked by this horrific scene, and Fang Kai's blood was like being poured with cold water, and it instantly cooled down. How to fight this? The error tolerance rate is too low. It's like an elephant beating an ant, stomping its foot, and the ant is going to die. This is a battle for life. For a while, desperate anger pervaded the discussion group. Uchiha's voice with soil resounded in it. See. No matter how you struggle in this world, you are doomed to failure. See clearly, there is no hope in this world at all. Since you are stubborn, let me kill all of you first, and then create a peaceful world that accommodates everyone. Just when the coalition forces were in chaos, a strong voice appeared in everyone's minds. Everyone, cheer up, please listen to the command of the command, we will definitely win. It turned out to be the voice of Nara Luhisa, the ninja command 100 miles away. In addition, the members of the command included Yamanaka Haichi, Azabui, Aoi and others. That's right, you can still win if you fight, you can die in chaos, everyone, the final battle, please cheer up. Now the command will unify everyone. Final showdown. The Ninja World Alliance, composed of more than 80,000 ninjas from various villages, once again let out a heaven-shaking roar, and rushed towards the Ten Tails in unison. Sao. Fight with them. Labor and management must cultivate well, and when the time comes, they will ruthlessly kill Uchiha with soil. Uchiha Obito must die for the master. In the image. Headquarters. First of all, the clouds are hidden with thunder, and land is illuminated by the enemy, causing the enemy to lose our target. Ordering. The band, the brave and good fighting union people immediately organized. Lay done. Pillar of lightning. Arashi done. Frustration lock caustic. Countless. Pillars of thunder light cut through the arc in the air, like a brilliant meteor shower, illuminating the dark battlefield. Although each ray of thunder is not powerful, it is radiant, and it attacks the Ten Tails and the Uchiha Belt Earth Man above its head. Uchiha Obito and the two were blinded by the dazzling thunder. The Ten Tails also felt the threat of the Thunderlight Pillar, and their bodies involuntarily curled up, and the six-hooked jade reincarnation eyes looked more bright and dazzling under the light of the thunder light, but they were also more hideous. It tried to resist the thunder light with its eyes, but weakly found it difficult to concentrate for a while, and could only half squint its eyes, enduring the stinging and burns caused by the thunder light pillar, and there was a trace of panic and anger in its eyes. Headquarters. Next is the thick fog of the previous fog and the sea of insects of evil tools, plus a large amount of flying dust set off by the land shield and the manipulative airflow. Sand Yinjiang, it's now. Wind escape. The airflow dances. Headquarters. Perfect destruction of the enemy's field of vision, so that the other party cannot capture our figure. After all, the opponent is huge and cannot be hidden, we have to make full use of this factor. Uchiha Obito Eye Blood Chakra Eye appeared, but found that the air was densely covered with insects with chakra, and the dense fog and sand were also thick and impenetrable. Headquarters. Iwahide people pick up, first deprive the senses, and then deprive the Ten Tails of their freedom of movement. Tuden. Earth Kinetic Nucleus. Hundreds of Yanyin Shengnin jointly urged the ground to move the core, and the hard ground instantly cracked towards the Ten Tails. The cracks spread out like spider webs, and one after another huge earth cracks rushed out of the cracks and slammed into the Ten Tails, and the entire battlefield seemed to become a fault zone, and the ground continued to collapse and rise, forming a huge deep pit and high platform. The impact of the ground crack made the Ten Tails unable to stabilize its figure. Its huge body was slammed into the deep pit, its eyes were covered by dust and dirt, and it wanted to get up, but found itself trapped by the pit wall, instinctively felt unprecedented humiliation and a trace of fear. Headquarters. Ten Tails fall, use lime immediately. Meltdown. The art of lime condensation. The Iwayne ninja did not give the Ten Tails a chance to breathe, they opened their mouths one after another, spit out streams of white lime, gushed out like a fountain, and quickly flowed towards the deep pit. The Ten Tails in the deep pit are surrounded by lime, and it struggles to escape, but finds itself sinking deeper and deeper. Headquarters. Mist Yinjiang, pick up. Shui Duan. Water bomb art. The Mist Ninja followed the attack of the Iwayne Ninja, and they quickly changed their handprints, spewing out powerful waves of water from their mouths. The water waves cut into the lime like a sharp blade, stirring and splitting it, and the Mist Ninja simultaneously injected their own chakra into the water, making the water more flexible and powerful. Water and lime form a huge whirlpool in the deep pit, and the Ten Tails trapped in the whirlpool are like falling into a quagmire. Headquarters. Konoha people, it's up to you to finish. Fire Shield. The art of Hao Yan. The ninjas of Konoha launched the final blow, spitting out streams of fiery flames from their mouths, instantly evaporating and hardening the water and lime in the deep pit. The flames rolled up like a tornado, completely enveloping the body of the Ten Tails. It felt an unprecedented burning pain, wanted to struggle, but found itself firmly fixed by the cement. At this moment, the Ten Tails can't move, can't breathe, can't think, just like a neck being killed. The discussion group cheered as they boarded. It's unbelievable that the ninjas of the 5 ninja villages can cooperate so tacitly. 666. It turns out that the battle is going to be fought like this. The cooperation is too tacit to be true, this is the cooperation of various villages. Even a partner in the same village may not be able to play this operation. Quote. Command 666. The time that the Ten Tails is blocked is limited, and Uchiha Obito can penetrate all attacks, but intelligence says that this can only last for 5 minutes, and the medical forces cooperate well, and don't relax if you continue to attack for more than 5 minutes. All the Ninja Realm Coalition forces rushed up, jumped into the deep pit, and overwhelming attacks rushed towards the Ten Tails and the Uchiha Obito duo on it. Uchiha Obito smiled at the corner of his mouth and said disdainfully, the so-called hope you rely on does not exist at all. By now, your existence itself will be the same, and the time for the Ten Tails will come. Just as the colorful ninjutsu struck towards Uchiha like seawater, the 10 tails that were firmly fixed by lime mud changed. 10 thick tails turned into 10 big hands, knocking all the Ninja Realm Coalition forces into the deep pit, and then pressing on the ground at the top of the pit, and the body jumped up. Discussion. Group. Didn't you say that the operation was blocked? How can that monster still move? Quote. Can't such a mighty combination of ninjutsu trap it? Look, that monster has changed. Actually. Kind of like a human. So it's just pretending to be bound, but it's actually accumulating power for transformation. Uchiha took the soil to look down on the Ninja Realm Coalition and shouted angrily, I will tell you what despair is. After the change, the 10 tails condensed the substantial tailed beast Jade in their mouths, but the target was not the coalition army under their feet, but the target was to strike at the target thousands of miles away. Whether it is a mountain or a lake, a village or a town, as long as it is targeted by the tailed beast Jade, everything will disappear in an instant, leaving only a piece of ash. This scene of the extinction of everything left a deep psychological shadow on the discussion group. Or all cities and people within range. They're trying to erase everything. Look, there. Command. The 10 tails condensed a huge purple black-tailed beast Jade, aiming straight at a makeshift building 100 miles away, where the headquarters was located. Uchiha took the soil and said, the head of the coalition army is finished, and no matter how many people remain, they are just headless flies. After a violent explosion, the headquarters was extinguished, and the coalition forces had no way to stop the powerful tailed beast Jade for the time being. The coalition forces that lacked the backbone of their hearts suddenly fell into panic and anxiety, and many people showed expressions of despair and helplessness, and half knelt on the ground and vomited. Uchiha took the opportunity to kill the coalition army. The 10 tails roared like a demon, waving its thick and hard arms. Every time it fell, it could take countless lives. The Ninja Alliance army resisted hard, but could not stop the crazy attack of the 10 tails. Just as the scene fell into a one-sided slaughter, Konoha's Hinata and Hinata Ninja shouted, Bagwazong. Go back to heaven. The tail of the 10 tails was rebounded by 2 huge chakra vortices. The hearts of the people in the discussion group were all grabbed, and the huge arms of the 10 tails were like a meat grinder, leaving countless meat mud in the place they passed, and the scene became extremely bloody. The battle continues. The Ninja Alliance hasn't given up yet. We haven't lost yet. Uchiha took the soil to look coldly at the embarrassed coalition forces underground, and said, I want to tell you what true despair is. Mu Duan. Cuttings. 10 tails stretched out 10 arms, palms facing down, and countless sharp wooden thorns shot towards the Ninja Realm Alliance. Densely packed like a rain of arrows. The coalition army faced 10,000 arrows through the heart, wailing and trying to escape the range of the arrow rain, but found that the arrow rain covered almost the entire battlefield. The allied forces who could not avoid died tragically under the rain of arrows in despair and mourning. Come, you look around, again, your childish and naive declaration. Uchiha Obito shouted towards Naruto Uzumaki, who was in a great sad mood. I'll let you say it again. Touch your companion's slowly getting cold body, experience the feeling of losing a loved one, and then shout your ignorant remarks. Death will continue, and your rash words and ideas will become lies. This is the result of telling ideals and hopes, this is the reality. Bodies on the ground are strewn across the field, bleeding and drifting, and countless coalition troops are dead. Looking at Uchiha Obito mocking his face, everyone empathized with Naruto Uzumaki, and scolded Uchiha Obito. Murderous heart, Uchiha Obito murderous heart. Naruto Uzumaki is so miserable. Uchiha with soil. Quote. In the video. Naruto, look around, they all died because of you. As long as you continue to be my enemy, death will not stop. What is the need to stay in reality? Come and join me. Uchiha took the soil to look down on the soulless Uzumaki Naruto and stretched out his hands. Naruto Uzumaki's ears echoed Uchiha Obito's words, and he couldn't help but look around. As far as the eye can see, the corpse mountain and the sea of blood. The 90,000 coalition army has suffered less than 30% of the casualties. Such a tragic sacrifice, even if the battle is won, is there really any point? For the first time, Naruto Uzumaki's faith was shaken. Uchiha Obito's outstretched hand looks like an olive branch that saved the lives of the remaining 30,000 companions in Naruto Uzumaki's eyes, and it looks so attractive. Snap. A crisp slap sounded. Hinata's white jade hand pressed on Naruto Uzumaki's face, and said timidly but firmly, "It's not just Naruto, you're all the same, each other's lives have long been closely connected, so we are companions. If we abandon our beliefs, our dead companions will die in vain, and then it is really equivalent to killing our companions, and then we cannot be counted as companions." I think so. This slap not only awakened Naruto, but also hit the hearts of all the surviving coalition forces. At this moment, they are carrying the lives of their companions, and the long-cherished wishes of their deceased companions. How can they be slumped? Hinata pleaded, "So, stand up with me, you have more than one life." At this moment, Naruto and the rest of the coalition forces regained their strength, with the belief that they would be like death, and fought a battle. Discussion. Group. Who is this girl? With a pair of white eyes, it should be the Konoha Hinata family. I'm going to pick up a kiss. Don't make trouble, it's estimated that it's still in the mother's womb. What a girl like that. Give me a dozen. If you can't drink it, go to the dog's table. I'm sweet in my urine, I'll come first. Don't reward him, let me come. I heard that Hinata Hiyashi's wife seems to be about to give birth, and that girl should be his future daughter. Ah. Lord Hiyashi, worshipped by your son-in-law. Hinata. Hiyashi looked at the hundreds of more, offset sons-in-law, in the discussion group, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. Serious by nature, he touched his wife's big belly, and his eyes showed a gratifying look. Hinata. Will definitely make you proud. Minako Hiyashi. Are you so sure that the girl in the video is our daughter? Didn't you always like your son? Hinata Hiyashi sighed and said, "The only thing that can make the split family fight to the death to protect is the heirs of our clan family. Counting the age, it must be Hinata." Minako smiled and said, "Then you have to have a good relationship with the future in-law's Wave Feng Shuaman, and Uzumaki Jushina will name his future son Naruto." Hinata Hiyashi's tone was cold, but there was a smile on the corner of his mouth. HMPH. If it is the son of Bofeng Shuaman, he is worthy of being the son-in-law of my Hyuga family. Minako shook her head, her husband, the old Tsunere. The image continues. Tuden. The Art of the Mountains. From Yenian Lois took the lead in launching the super-large Earth escape. Two huge rock walls rose up, firmly fixing the Ten Tails in the middle, preventing it from killing the remaining coalition forces. The Ninja World Alliance regained its strength and once again rushed to the immobilized Ten Tails. Ten Tails stretched out his arm from the crack in the stone wall and swung it at the coalition forces. The Art of Multiplication. Akamichi Dingji and Akamichi Dingza led the Akamichi clan to double their flesh and grab the arm of the Ten Tails with all their might. Enough, a bunch of stubborn guys. Uchiha Obito was angered by the tenacious spirit of the Ninja Alliance, and manipulated the tail of the Ten Tails to wrap the Ten Tails itself, forming a sealed ball, and then a tailed beast jade condensed straight towards his feet. Even if you hurt the Ten Tails, you don't hesitate. Uchiha roared. Just as the tailed beast jade flew towards the rushing coalition army, between the electric light and flint, Unionchi Rabi completely turned the tailed beast into an 8-tailed cow ghost, and directly rushed into the mouth of the Ten Tails. Try this. A small tailed beast jade shot from the mouth of the bull ghost to the tailed beast jade, and it detonated when it landed. The violent explosion inflated Tenao's arm into a giant balloon, and inside the sealed balloon, Uchiha Obito was in the middle of it. After the explosion, the Ten Tails fell to the ground in a daze, smashing up a cloud of dust, like a dead cockroach. Discussion Group. Handsome, Union's human pillar power. This time, Uchiha Obito should die. Don't be happy too early and forget that he has the ability to blur himself. Anyway, this Ten Tails doesn't look like it's okay. In the image, the tenacious Tails stood up again, his figure swelled again, and his muscles bulged. If Fang is skinny, he is burly and fierce at this moment. Naruto Uzumaki was also touched by the attack of his companions, and once again condensed the nine-tailed mode. He took Hinata's hand and gave it the tailed beast cloak. Then concocted as the law gave all the coalition partners the coat of the tailed beast. Naruto Uzumaki held a spiral shuriken in each hand and led all the allied forces to rush to the Ten Tails. All the Ninja Realm coalition forces turned into a red torrent, cut the tails of the Ten Tails together, and then rushed towards the Uchiha Obito duo with unstoppable might. The powerful impact force caused the Ten Tails to lose their balance and fall to the ground. Uchiha took the soil to blur himself in time, and the spiral shuriken passed through, but because the Ten Tails lost their balance, they also fell to the ground. For a time, the Ninja World Alliance forced him into a corner. I'm different from you, I don't cut off the bonds, and I don't want to be cut off by you. As long as I have a companion by my side, my strength will continue to flow. Naruto Uzumaki led a Ninja Alliance army to surround Uchiha and the two. Uchiha took the soil to advise, since you claim that the death of your companions is your pain, why should you protect them again, why should you give them relief? You won't have to suffer anymore. Less nonsense here, although the death of my companion will make me miserable, I still don't want to cut off this bond, although it seems that I am very selfish. Naruto Uzumaki yelled. Uchiha took the soil to scan a circle of coalition forces, and did not think so. Hey, yes, don't talk too much, the good show is still to come. Heaven and earth have changed. Quote. In the image. The sky is changing. Uchiha's cold words were like the whispers of the 9 demons, bringing the last judgment to this world. I saw the 10 tails roaring up to the sky, with it as the center. A huge shock wave rushed in all directions, accompanied by thunder, stormy waves, hurricanes, and earthquakes raging in the world. It was an irresistible destructive force, beyond human wisdom. Before and after the shock wave, the air and rocks changed drastically, as if time and space were distorted. The terrifying power released by the natural disaster seems to devour all things. The rules and order have all been subverted, and the world is about to be reshaped. The Ninja World Alliance at the center of the storm does not know whether it lives or dies. The picture stopped abruptly. Astounded. The discussion group was shocked by the terrifying sight of the sky falling apart. Is this really ninjutsu? Terrifying. Hiss. Don't say 90,000, even if the 900,000 coalition army is under this kind of power, it will also turn into flying ash. Do I really want to be involved in this war in the future? Isn't the 10 dead and lifeless? Destroy. Hurry. Just after 3 battles, not yet happy for a few years, you will encounter this kind of perversion, this ninja world, don't wait. Can't we salvage it again? Who can survive that kind of natural disaster? An atmosphere of horror, fear, and despair spread in the discussion group. No one questioned the outcome of this war, and in the eyes of everyone, the coalition had no chance of surviving. Let's move on to the prize quiz session. Question. How many variations of the 10 tails? Is the sky changing one of the 3 bloodstain abilities? A. 4, it belongs. A. 4, it belongs to B. 4, it does not belong. C. 5, it belongs to D. 5, it does not belong. 10 tails. That monster is indeed 10 tails. How can these 10 tails still transform? None of the tailed beasts in my village can transform. Is it really a species? Quote. How many forms does it have? The image has changed twice, plus the original appearance, it should be 3, right? No, the previous image mentioned that the Outer Path Golem collected all the tailed beasts to incarnate into 10 tails, so it should be 4. If the Outer Path Golem is counted as one form of the 10 tails, then the final incarnation Divine Tree is not also counted as one, it should be 5. Is it the ability to change blood? I don't know. It's overclass. Quote. Blood succession limit and blood stain elimination are often seen, and blood succession snare is really unseen. For this point, no one dares to give a definite analysis. At present, I only know that the dust of the earth's shadow belongs to the bloodstain elimination, and the bloodstain snare is to fuse the chakra of the 7 attributes. Anyway, I haven't seen it. It can't be ordinary ninjutsu, right? This ability to destroy the world must be counted. Root tissue in ruins. Which one? Zilai was also uncertain, and turned his head to ask about the soil. Obito pondered for a moment and said, the sky changes strangely because the 10 tails use a huge amount of chakra to interfere with natural energy, thereby causing natural disasters, which is not a bloodstain ability, and can only be regarded as a means of attack. So that's it. Obito and Jiraiya also chose D. A moment later, a mechanical radio sounded. Answer time, now announce the correct option. D. This is not a bloodstain ability. Anyone can learn. Don't pull it, I can feel the chakra consumed by this trick across the screen, and the tailed beasts in my village can't use it. Winners are now announced. Congratulations to Uchiha for winning the reward, Senjutsu Chakra. Congratulations to the Toad Immortal for getting the reward, Perfect the Immortal Mode. Congratulations on also remembering the dance to get the reward, Random Blood Succession Boundary, 6 Hook Jade Reincarnation Eyes. Nani. 6 hooks of Jade Reincarnation Eye. Z. Lai also looked at the last reward, his eyes full of shock. This can also be rewarded with the soil on his forehead. He sighed, it's too messy. The pupil power of the 6 hook Jade Reincarnation Eye is still above the ordinary Reincarnation Eye, and the motor has these eyes, and the ninja world is in danger. Quote. Obito, the situation may not be good. Jiraiya looked worried, and motioned for him to look at the discussion group. Discussion group. Konoha is being injured and rebuilding. Don't kill Uchiha Obito at this time, when will it be? Uchiha Obito has already collected the 3 tails and the 9 tails, you can't wait any longer, you must get rid of them quickly. Sooner or later, we have to join forces, why not take advantage of it now? I don't want my children to go into battle in more than 10 years. As the call for Obito grew louder, Konoha was also included in the attack. The few speeches that spoke for Obito were quickly wiped out. Yuyin Village. The deafening thunder resounded through the heavens and the earth, the heavy rain was like a waterfall falling from the sky, the wind was howling, and the cold and piercing rain hit Uchiha's body, but he did not feel pain. For him who has regained his new life, pain is also another enjoyment, just like a paralyzed person suddenly feels pain. When he opened his eyes, there was a pair of 6 hook Jade Reincarnation Eyes in the originally dark eye hole. At this moment, the scene of heavy rain came into his eyes, and the lines of the world had never been so clearly visible. Uchiha touched his eyes and said in disbelief. It's really a creation and trick, the eye of reincarnation that I used all my life to open, but now it is so easy. These eyes, stronger. Wheeled tomb. Heavenly hand power. What a gift from fate. Uchiha was extremely satisfied with the ability brought by the left and right reincarnation eyes, and the corners of his mouth couldn't stop leaning back. Psychic. With Madara pressing the ground with one hand, the outer path golem appeared in Yuyin village. In the atmosphere of dark clouds, the face of the golem of the outer path was full of malice and resentment, and its 9 eyes emitted a blood-red light, facing even more hideous and terrifying. Uchiha Madara stood on the head of the golem of the outer Dao, overlooking the Yuyin village, and sneered. Ninja Realm Alliance. Amusing. It's just a bunch of ants frightened by images, what is the need for such a world? Let's make a fuss. When you and Uchiha take the soil to fight you to death and I live, I will kill you all again. God help me, the Eye of the Moon plan will finally come true. But before that, Uchiha's gaze was cold, full of murderous aura. He did not doubt what Obito had said to him in the mountain cemetery. In fact, Heiju's wisdom and disposition did not seem to be a product that he could make. Even if you were really my will, there is no need for you to exist at this moment. Uchiha sneered. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.